Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original. I am Josh Henning.
I'm Phil Gerber.
I'm Jeremy Gerber.
Welcome, everybody, back to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original, presented by Blade HQ. Whether you're into cars, motorcycles, hunting, fishing, grilling, or any number of things, you've got the tools that you swear by. Have you ever noticed that the tool that finds its way into every job is a knife? Do you have the one that you swear by? If not, it's time you got yourself one. And Blade HQ is the place to get it. They've got the knives to fit any hand, any belt, any job, and any budget. Just go to bladehq.com/oil and whiskey to shop their selection of knives. Today we're going to be talking with Brad Jennings, co-owner of North of Bourbon. He's also going to be walking us through making one of his signature cocktails. That's why we have all the beautiful sundries.
Accoutrements.
And vessels and mixing devices, measuring devices.
Many things.
Liqueurs.
Many of these are my things. I brought a lot of things.
You have some things. Yeah. But first, it's time for On the Gas. In this segment, we want to take some time to shout out an individual, vendor, shop, or company that's got their foot on the gas, doing great work and taking their projects and industry to the next level. This week, who do we have?
Yep.
Who do we got?
We got a cool one this week. This one, this is a deep pull for a guy who has been a mainstay in the industry.
Seasoned, if you will.
Seasoned, and must have a massive gas tank. Gas tank must hold a lot of fuel.
He's got one of those bed-mounted gas tanks.
Yeah, he's got fuel on board. That's a long bed. Yeah, hundreds and hundreds of gallons. Guy's been killing it for years. None other than Bobby Alloway.
Yep. Just
I was waiting to see where that amount of gas went, but
it's just a shit.
It's just running on the gas for a long time.
Oh yeah, it's just a shitload of gas. I mean, that takes a lot of gas. I mean, guy has been doing it for probably 30 plus years.
It'd be easy to coast and not really worry about putting stuff out. I mean, just several weeks ago, we were down in Columbus, and I mean, good grief, he had 10 cars out there in front of his booth. It seemed like 8 of them were El Caminos of all different shapes, and flavors, and
they just look good. That El Camino, we just saw it out at Columbus. That's probably one of my favorites out there. Something about that jet black El Camino, the way he pulled it off.
Say what you want to about doing so much black, but if you can make it look like that, why wouldn't you?
Wesley Snipes said it best when he said, "Always bet on black." You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
He didn't say it quite like that. It was said a little differently,
but seriously, I mean, style-wise, and I mean, the quality, the level of execution he puts out, and great guys too.
Yeah, great.
Toby runs that rig around.
And he maintains a great presence, level of professionalism when you see him at the shows. You know, got a killer booth.
Everything's always dialed.
Yeah, it's dialed in. It's on point. Toby's there, great face of the company. Hell of a nice guy. Known him for a long time. And just a really good team, good people.
I think we'll call this one, Can't Believe He's Still on the Gas.
Yeah. And I think we're just doing this to butter him up, really, to try to get him on here.
I know.
He's
a busy man.
And they don't have internet connection out there, I don't think, in the sticks.
I wonder if we could just do it by written.
We'll
write him a letter.
Like a telegraph.
We'll
send it, a telegraph, right?
Yeah. Check him out on Instagram at Alloway's Hot Rods, Alloway's Hot Rod Shop. And if you don't have any plans there in September, head down to Shades of the Past there in Pigeon Forge and check out the show.
It's the last time for Shades of the Past.
I just heard that.
Yeah,
it's coming to an end. We're gonna have a problem going down there on Wednesday if there's no more Shades, Josh.
I know.
Yeah, it's been an awesome show. Probably one of my favorites to go. It was Bobby's deal right from the start.
Yep.
Started that, and they are not allowed to renew their contract with.
Is that the deal?
Yeah, with Dolly World or Splash
Country.
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
this is the last year for it, unfortunately. I don't know if they're looking for another venue.
I'll have to go blow it out then if it's going to be the last one. That's been a mainstay.
It's been great. It's a good destination. Bring the family. Great little town. A lot of cool stuff. And they bring the heat with cars.
Yep.
Josh
can visit his uncle in Gatlinburg.
Yeah, in July.
Well, man, that really sucks. It kind of threw me off my game now. It's really good. I heard the rumors. I didn't think
maybe
it was real.
We gotta maybe move that up to the Dells. What do you think? Wisconsin Dells?
I don't know. Similar layout.
Well, surprisingly still on the gas, Alloway's Hot Rod Shop. Bobby, come on, be a guest, please. We'll send you self-contained computer and internet and satellite and all that. Brad Jennings is the co-owner of North of Bourbon. His restaurant is located in the historic Germantown section of Louisville, Kentucky, and offers an epic bourbon selection with over 300 bottles behind the bar, complemented by a food menu that uniquely combines Kentucky with New Orleans. To find out more about the restaurant and book your reservation, go to northofbourbon.com and check them out on Instagram at northofbourbonky. Brad Jennings, welcome to Oil and Whiskey.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Man, it's our pleasure. We've been looking forward to this, dude.
Usually by about this time, we're already at least 2 drinks in, and we haven't had anything because we've been waiting to make this cocktail. So first order of business, you're going to walk us through making this. Jeremy's brought all of the things to do it. So why don't you walk us through doing this deal?
Yeah, so we can start making the cocktail, and then I'll walk you through a little bit of the history of it, if that's all right with y'all. Get some liquid in.
Fantastic.
So yeah, you always want to start with the volume of least, or the ingredient of least volume. So we're going to start with
deal with that.
Your bitters. You're going to do 2 dashes each.
Do you put the ice in first or after?
Usually wait, just because it's going to start melting immediately.
Yep. Like I said, we're going to put that ice in right after we do this. So
yeah, 2 ounces each of your orange and Angostura bitters.
Bam.
2 ounces or 2 dashes?
We got 2 dashes each of these bad boys.
2 dashes. If I haven't had a bourbon yet either, so maybe I'm wishing.
Now, when you make these, if you're making cocktails for multiple people, do you make them one at a time, or do you double up the ingredients? Is it
double up the ingredients? Yeah, you can get up to maybe 3 cocktails in one of those beakers.
Then we'll triple this sucker up.
Do that.
3 times.
That's 6.
6, yeah.
5.5.
All right, that one came out a little heavy.
So then, in your situation, you're going to want to do 3 times the 1/2 ounce of Luxardo, the maraschino liqueur. So 1.5 ounces of that.
1.5 ounces. There we go.
And looks like y'all have a nice selection for today. Well done. That's McKenna 10. It's a staple.
Yeah.
Got to step our game up when we're dealing with an expert here. So.
So yeah, you're gonna do 6 total ounces of that, and then ship the rest of that bottle to me.
You got it, dude. 6 ounces of that. You got that in there, right?
I know somebody's going to be bringing you a bourbon or a cocktail or something, right?
I'm about to go get one. I just had to get up away from the dusty cabinet, so I didn't get in there just yet. But that's right over by where y'all were sitting the first time you were in.
All right.
Now we're going to throw some ice. I don't have a scoop, and I don't feel like individually grabbing those, so
Just
grab
get that hand.
That's a good, clean hand. It's COVID-free hand.
Yeah. Get the ice in there by any means necessary.
I'm talking about.
I get a grab a Glen Cairn from you when you get a second.
Seems like a good.
Yeah, you got a good amount in there.
Good amount of ice in there.
Give it a stir for about 10 or 15 seconds so the outside of the glass starts to get cold.
Some good sound right there. I like that.
And as you feel that start to chill off, you stop the stir and grab your strainer.
Now, do we pour over an ice cube, or does the ice cube go in after the pour?
The ice cube after.
All right.
So it's a bit easier to judge if you're making them all even at that point.
Perfect.
Unless you just want to give yourself more than everybody else, which is.
Yeah, we might just do that.
I'm going to join y'all in the.
Oh,
Hey.
Here we go.
Yeah, so you'll get those to an even amount. Should be a little over 2.5 ounces in each glass, and then you'll put your ice in, and we'll get your lemon twist going.
Oh,
Good catch.
That was stellar.
This is why I'm not making drinks in front of people at the bar. You know, but this is kind of like building a hot rod in front of Chip Foose, so it's a little intimidating.
You'd be surprised how many times we spill stuff. It's just bar seasoning, man. It's fine.
all right, lemon twist.
Oh,
What
we
do you
gotta
got
get
on
do
that? Come
lemon
on.
Yeah.
twist.
All right, so this is the thing I've
Garnish.
always struggled with. I got one of these little bad boys, but to make them actually twist,
Yeah, so just assuming that you know nothing about twist, you always want to make sure you get the peel off and then goes skin side down whenever you pinch it over the drink, so you get the oils from the peel into the drink.
skin side down. Huh? Do you give it like a little twist beforehand?
Yeah,
Or you just
over the
toss that
drink.
sucker
You want to
in?
go over the top of the drink, give it a pinch and a twist. There you go, and then rub it around the rim of the glass. So that's the first thing that you're going to smell, and that's the way you're going to kind of receive the drink. The first sense that you're going to hit is that smell.
Yeah, rub around there nice, like.
Get all up in it.
Now, what's this cocktail called?
So it's a classic drink. It's called a fancy free. It's back in the day, people were trying to experiment with some European liqueurs and started substituting those for their simple syrups. So I can get behind that theory, get rid of the sugar and add more booze.
Cheers.
Good.
Raise a glass to y'all.
Cheers, man.
Salud.
That's quite.
Yeah.
That's quite nice.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, it's a play on an old fashioned, but it's literally all booze instead of having some, it changes the viscosity. So I know y'all deal a lot with viscosity in your oil world, but it's a little bit thinner. It's nice in the summer because it's not as heavy, not as light, or not as thick as a traditional, old
It is. It's a lot better than the TGI Fridays old fashioned, where they muddle up like every piece of fruit behind the counter.
Yeah, it's
That
just
thing's like a milkshake.
it's like a fruit cocktail.
Formaldehyde cherries out and grab your cheapest soda water.
Mhm.
And
Or
Dr.
a little Sprite. I had a lady tell me once, some bartender was somewhere, she cracks open a Sprite and pours it over the top, and then lets me know that this is the oldest way of making an old fashioned.
Is it? Yeah,
Like
right there.
Sprite's been around since.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I didn't know, so I learned something new today.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. That's a good
That's
cocktail.
really good.
Well,
Sorry for waiting for your first cocktail, man, but glad to join you for.
absolutely,
Yeah.
it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
Well, for all the listeners wondering why we have a bartender, why we have an owner of an amazing eating and establishment down in Kentucky. We were down on a bourbon trail trip, and from recommendation from your wife, right?
My sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law. We stumbled in and proceeded to drink far too many cocktails for far too long, and we're just absolutely blown away. Everything was absolutely amazing.
Oh, yeah, we've been all over the country, all sorts of fancy restaurants, all sorts of cool speakeasies, cool bars, you name it. Every cocktail bar in Chicago. But to be honest with you, the North of Bourbon and the cocktails, the appetizers, the atmosphere, everything in your place was such a standout, so absolutely unbelievable that we felt we need to just break the mold here on our Oil and Whiskey podcast and kind of venture outside of our comfort zone of our typical guests that are usually car guys. And I think everything you do is so impressive and how you put it all together that a lot of that just applies to our industry. So I think there's a lot to unpack here, and we'd like to hear more about, I guess, your business, where you got started, and how do you transition, or how do you get from probably a guy who maybe just wanted to start a bar, maybe like booze, to being where you're at now?
Yeah, man. Well, first and foremost, we were just thrilled to have y'all in that night. Whatever the happenstance, I know wives and sister-in-laws kind of get mixed up down this way a little more. No, glad to have y'all. You were a lot of fun, and y'all dove right into the cocktails and the food, which was great for us because we loved to talk about the story. And started out just as four friends that would have a handful of cocktails and say, we're tired of going out and getting bad service, or not being able to get everything you want when you go out and you're spending your hard-earned money. So let's finally put our foot down and try to find a space. Coming out of the pandemic, there were some places that people were just trying to recoup a little bit of money, and we were able to find the right place for us, and ended up tearing the whole place down, man. Ripping it down to the studs and then building it back up. So like we talked about, these booths, we had them char the inside to make them look like actual bourbon barrels. And he did that each piece by hand, the bar top, the floor, everything came out of a rick house from Maker's Mark. One of our partners had the opportunity to redo their floors, so it kind of just leans towards the intent that we had behind just about everything that we did. We took our time with it, and developing a cocktail list, developing the back of the house I can take no credit for. We were lucky enough to cross paths with a shooting star, a rising star that's on his way up here in the entire region, not just in the city. He's being invited to some really special things too, so it was luck of the draw on that. But just being very serious about everything that we are trying to do, and I know that y'all can understand that when it comes down to fine automobile. You want everything to be aligned properly, and when somebody takes the time to recognize that, it feels really nice. So we appreciate y'all acknowledging all the efforts and everything that we're working towards here. We just hit our 6-month mark, and we're really hoping to keep this thing going and become a staple in the city, and then see where that takes us.
That's awesome. Like, we were all blown away with just the attention to detail on like literally everything. I mean, it was the way the booths were, the way the bar, the back bar was. I mean, down to branding each ice cube with your logo before you put it into each drink. I mean, that's kind of the way we do everything, and go probably 10 steps further than we need to, or than most people would recognize. But just seeing all that stuff, I think we were pretty floored and impressed with.
We copied the lighting of the bottles. I mean, it was the same when we were doing this. It was like, no, I know how those bottles were lit, and we even we took pictures of some cocktails and had to go back to the pictures and was like, we're gonna light it the same exact way. It just looked awesome.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it looks great back there, man.
Thanks, really man. Yeah, it was like like 100 hours of hand fabricating, cocktail lights and shelves because we couldn't buy the cheap little LED ones off some website. So
yeah. So where'd the concept come from? I mean, you're obviously there in Kentucky. I mean, it's bourbon capital. But mixing with Bourbon Street and New Orleans and the flavor of the food and that kind of style, where did that mentality come from?
Yeah, well, our partner, there's 4 of us. It's my brother, myself. I run the bar program. My brother's more like the GM, and then it's a husband and wife, 2 of our best friends. He runs the hardwood flooring company. He's from the border of Mississippi and Louisiana, so he spent the first probably 25 years of his life down there. Our chef also spent some summers in the bayou and down in like deep South Mississippi, East Texas, and they ate a lot of things that we weren't familiar with up here. So they've always done a really good job of introducing us to those items, introduced us to the culture down there, the community, and just fell in love with the connection between Louisville and New Orleans. I mean, Louisville wouldn't be Louisville if we didn't have everybody bring their barrels of bourbon here and ship them down to New Orleans. Because of the Falls of Ohio just happens to be located here, people had to stop their boats and stay the night. And that's when people would say, hey, do you want to buy this booze and throw it on your boat? So that's where the business originated. We kind of wanted to celebrate the connection between the 2 cities, and with the youth of our partner, a lot of the food that he eats that we're not familiar with up here, wanted to do the same thing that had happened to us and be introduced to that kind of culture and that program that they have down there and how serious they take all the food and the drinking culture. Really try to bring that up here where, we do some day drinking. We get after it a little bit. So I hope that I feel like y'all understand, because y'all were getting after it as well when you were in. Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, that's the general concept. And then it was just, like I said, really taking it serious, and been bartending, been in the game for a couple of decades, and knowing what we like when we go out, and just really trying to take it to the next level and set the bar. So that's where I would say we started. And then, as y'all know, things come up and you have to take a turn and figure it out from there. So,
well, not only was everything just amazing, but it was fun and awesome to see the taking that southern cuisine, some of those southern staples that you said, a lot of people don't know about that, and then elevating it, or even with the cocktail. I mean, one cocktail had boiled peanuts served with it. I mean, that's a southern staple. I mean, the catfish was amazing, and your riff on that southern tradition of a ice cold Coca-Cola glass bottle and pouring those peanuts in and stuff. I mean, I remember my mother. That was my mom's thing. I mean, maybe every now and then an RC Cola, but I mean that's a southern deal, and you're seeing that elevated in a new take that would be more acceptable to somebody sitting down for a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, I rock with RC Cola also, by the way. So shouts out to them. But it kind of blends in what we're trying to do. It's celebrate the history and a lot of culture and tradition, but you can still do it in a refined way. But when you come in, we're not persnickety people. We're just down to earth folks that we like to have a good time too, like I said. So doing things a little bit elevated, but still being approachable. And, you can come in and get a shot in a PBR, or you can get a handful of cocktails that are just a little bit more elevated than maybe what some people are used to. So.
Well, that catfish was amazing. I mean, I've grown up eating catfish, but we've traveled around enough. They've all had enough southern catfish to raise their their expectancy.
I think we had, wasn't there some sort of boudin ball? Did you correct me?
Yeah, boudin balls. Yeah.
Didn't we have that there too?
Yeah.
And the last time we ate that and catfish was on the roof of my Camaro.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere.
That was at the stop down there in Louisiana.
In some back roads in Louisiana.
Yeah.
At some random gas station, and it was fantastic. But I mean, it doesn't hold a candle to what you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, that catfish was absolutely amazing.
Like I said, I can't take any credit for the food, man, but there's that little tiger sauce on there, and the crawfish boudin balls. Usually, you'll see it done with the sausage, but being able to, luckily being in Louisville, we're a hub for UPS, which a lot of people don't know. So we're afforded the opportunity to get a lot of fresh seafood flown in, or we can get the crawfish for the crawfish boil flown up. So that really helps us out. But
I apologize to interrupt you. This has been going on for about.
Settled it.
He'd absolutely settled it.
Almost a decade.
This has been going on for about 10 years, Brad. That we do a show in Louisville every year, NSRA Street Rod Nationals. We've been traveling around for a long time. We go to Louisville years ago, probably 10 years ago. I recommended a restaurant to go to. It was a seafood restaurant. And I proceeded to explain to them that Louisiana actually, Louisville actually has really good seafood and fresh seafood because of the UPS hub. And I have been scoffed at, ridiculed, made fun of every single time we go to Louisville since that time.
Well, it was well warranted, though.
It was. Yeah. We'll be down in Florida, like sitting at a restaurant on the water, and we'll be like, I don't know if we should order the fish here. It's probably, if we were in Louisville, that'd be, then maybe. But now that punches a hole in that, man. We're shit.
Yeah, we were at some restaurant, and Josh was hyping up how amazingly fresh the seafood is. So we got a gumbo.
Yeah.
And it came out and smelled so rank and nasty.
It was
took
bad.
One bite. I had an oyster. Have you ever had a stale oyster where it kind of has almost pus in it?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I took a bite and I ran to the bathroom, and I didn't make it all the way there. I threw up on the floor of the bathroom trying to get in there. So that's how fresh the seafood was that Josh is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's I promise you there's no check in the mail. I would assume there's no check in the mail. He has not contacted me prior to any of this bidding. It's just something that we often like to let people know that come down, man. They're like, you're landlocked. What do you mean? Like, is this out of the Ohio River? And it's like, no, we're just fortunate enough to have a hub here where we can have access to all this stuff, man. So send me the name of that restaurant. I'll make sure to not visit it when I'm in Florida next time. So.
Well, on to the whiskey stuff. What's going on with those private lockers and all of that? I know a little bit about it, I guess, with wine, but it's the first time I've seen it on the whiskey and bourbon side.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we got the idea. I mean, I've seen a few people that are doing something similar, but we actually just added 8 more, and 6 of them sold already. So we're trying to do it to where it's more approachable. it's a personal locker system with your name on the label. And you'll have a key and we'll have a key, and you just have to buy a minimum of X amount of dollars from us over the course of the year to keep in your locker. It doesn't have to be an unopened bottle. It can be a bottle that has 2 pours left. And you say, hey, I really like that Elmer T. Lee. I want to buy those last 2 pours, put it in my locker so it's there next time I come in because it's hard to find. So, you buy those, you come in with your buddies, the 3 of y'all would come in, we'll grab the Glencairns and the ice cubes and grab the bottle for you and bring it over, and you're guaranteed to have it essentially. And with that comes, anytime that we have a podcast or a master distiller that's coming in or any of those events, they'll have first rights to those. The locker members will be first rights to, they'll have first rights to any of the barrel picks that we do. So we have some of our own barrel picks coming that we'll be able to sell. So fun stuff like that. It's more about community. It's on the weekend nights, we'll have, 4 or 5 locker members in here, and the doors are flying open and bottles are just coming out and have you tried this and have you had that? So that's more what it's about as opposed to making a killing off of it. It's trying to introduce people of like mind to each other and share the spirit and spread the word about it. So
Awesome.
That is cool. Like building all that in that bar environment is super cool to me because when I go in a lot of these bars and cocktail lounges and stuff, I'm always like intimidated. I'm not like a super outgoing guy. And these bartenders, they're like kind of arrogant. You're afraid to ask a question and you're like rushed. And I'm looking at something and I know a lot about bourbon. I had a huge bourbon collection, but God forbid you ask. We've done it before.
Yeah.
Where you'll say what do you recommend? I don't know. There's a fucking shit ton of bourbon back there. What do you want?
What do you want?
Yeah. And that was something that it was apparent right when we walked in. So welcoming, so laid back. And that's probably the first time when I actually broke out of my shell and started asking questions to say hey dude, what do you recommend? What's this? What's that? And dude, it was so cool to have you steer us. And I think that's something everybody needs to experience in a bar or restaurant like you've got. It really makes the experience.
That's a big part of what we're trying to do is a lot of places, I'm not gonna mention any names of course, but it's a shut off kind of mentality or an elitist kind of view where you should be able to ask questions because guess what? We've all asked questions at some point. I didn't know everything, you know what I mean? And somebody was nice and kind enough to share it with me. So our entire, the number one thing that we say when we interview people is hospitality is number one. There's a course called Bourbon Stewardship that you can take, and that's a big thing that they harp on is, hey, you can't look down at somebody that's drinking a flavored whiskey because maybe you drank flavored whiskey when you were 21 or whatever the case may be. Anything that introduces the spirit to a new person, be kind, be welcoming, talk about that, talk about the history of it, and that, eventually they'll start working into an 80 proof bourbon maybe. And then, if you drink 120 proof neat, that's great. That's not for everybody, so it's a big to us to say, if you want Blanton's with Coke in it, that's how you like it. That's how you like it. There should be no shame. So the fact that you remarked on that and that it stood out to you, man, that makes me feel good because it should be a welcoming, hospitable conversation instead of a shut off, I don't have time for you thing.
Well, and then you took the time too. We ordered 1 or 2 rounds. For all of us, and then we're all trying each other's. We all ordered different stuff, and then it was kind of like, what, everything we've tasted has been great, so we just
bring them.
Yeah, we trust you. Just take us on a tour, and then you were hospitable and took the time to what, I'm going to take you a little bit out of your comfort zone here. I'm going to give you something that's a little bit more standard here, but it's going to be my twist on it and stuff like that. And it was an amazing experience. And I don't hate to keep harping on it, but it really was one of those, you tasted so many different things that were all absolutely phenomenal. And then you took the time to explain a little bit, this is why this is done. This is why this is done. It was just amazing. It really was.
Oh, that's cool. Because, when you're that open-minded and come in with the attitude that y'all as a group collectively came in with, you were ready to have a good time. And once, those first couple rounds went down, it was like, all right, we've got some trust going. Take us where you want. And then it was like, all right, well, we're gonna stretch your mind a little bit, but we're also gonna play with some classics. And y'all were just, your attitudes when you came in, man, that's part of why I love being behind the pines. I would have never met y'all, or maybe in a different scenario, but being able to share that experience from our end and pass it on and to be able to be talking about it weeks later, so that's really cool to me. So
That's awesome. When it comes to establish, I mean, we had every cocktail we had was phenomenal. You can only have so much stuff on the menu. I mean, obviously, you can make anything, anybody can bring up anything, and I'm sure you can create it. But what's the process like in establishing that cocktail list of your bangers, your heavy hitters? How do you create those that are worthy? I mean, is that like a you nail it out of the gate, like bam, all right, that one's going on the menu, or is it hours,
You
months,
tweaking on it
weeks of
constantly.
playing with it?
Yeah, it's constantly playing with it. I mean, I equate it to cooking. I wouldn't say baking because baking is such an exact science that I never had the patience for it. But cooking, you kind of get in the lab and you're playing around. You know what I mean? You start noticing flavor profiles and what goes well in the kitchen a lot of times plays well in the front of the house too. And playing on classics. It's somebody tried something this way. Well, what if I do a spin on it and do a riff on an old fashioned with a liqueur instead of a syrup? Or that's where a lot of the creativity comes from. It's similar to engineering. You don't always have to come up with reinvent the wheel, but you just modify something from earlier and say, oh well, this works too. Try it this way. So that's a lot of the fun of it. You also got to make sure you have a ride and a bunch of water, but you're doing old fashioned stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, we have one cocktail on the list. I don't think that y'all had any of the shaved ice. I can't recall, but we have a hand shaved Japanese steel machine where we freeze big blocks of ice. You kind of crank this thing up. And there was one day where we were building out. We weren't quite open yet. We had one too many the night before, and we were drinking some Big Red on the way in. It's a very Louisville thing. And we were talking and said, we need to make a syrup with this and make a cocktail from that. And that sometimes it happens like that. That's the only one that has started with a syrup instead of a spirit for me. But it was cool to kind of work backwards and figure out, okay, well, we're going to infuse this Tito's with vanilla bean and then play with the liqueur and then make the Big Red syrup and top it with condensed milk. And next thing you know, you've got this really cool cocktail that you get to crank this hand-shaped ice machine and kind of take you back to being a kid.
That's pretty cool. When it
Yeah.
comes to making those cocktails, how important is like the quality of the bourbon in it? Because I notice a lot of great cocktails, you'll see it's like Evan Williams or something that's ordinarily you wouldn't touch it. It's something you're certainly not going to drink it neat. You're probably not going to drink it on the rocks, but in cocktail form, it's phenomenal. And I'm always like, it's probably just because I have no idea how to make a decent cocktail, so I migrate towards like putting a better bourbon in the
That'll
cocktail.
make your game better.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put higher quality stuff in there. I think that's part of the beauty of cocktails is it doesn't have to be a 10-year single barrel McKenna. You know what I mean? You're playing with different flavor profiles. So yeah, you may have nuances of like Old Forester's known for their cherry flavors. If you're doing something cherry, then you might want to consider Old Forester 100 proof, like the old fashioned that y'all had. But you can play around with some stuff that you wouldn't drink neat and put those in cocktails. Now, if you're having 2 ounces neat, you're going to want to have a higher quality. Of course, that's completely different. But they're covering it up with citrus, basically citrus and sugars. So you're not going to pick up on this single barrel from 1997 that we picked. You're not going to pick up on the little tiny things you can pick up on when you put it with just a drop of water or something like that. So
What's the mix on your customers as far as going to cocktails versus straight bourbon pours and taking that tour of your fancy bottles you've got?
it's been fun to see, man. When we first opened, it was like, oh, a cocktail bar because we had almost 30 cocktails on the list, and then people come in and they're like, oh, snap, I'm gonna have a pour, or I haven't been able to have that since back in the day, or hey, I haven't seen that bottle since I had one with my dad, or something like that. So we do get a pretty good blend, and it's important to us to have a lot of options because not everybody, I like to drink bourbon neat clearly, but when we go out, wifey doesn't. She wants red wine or prosecco or vodka soda. So it's important that we have the cocktails. Obviously, we have over 300 bottles of bourbon on the wall, some dusties and stuff, but we got wine, beer. It goes back to that whole thing of being accepting. Anybody that walks in the doors and making sure that they don't feel intimidated and they can have a good time without feeling like they need to choke down 120 proof bourbon.
What's your oldest bottle you got in there right now?
1960 Old Crow. It's a Chessman piece. So
I'm familiar with it.
familiar with that, with different chess pieces and a I think we have the Rook. But they're
That's
beautiful.
cool. Yeah, the dusty stuff is we've all been collecting bourbon for years, and once you kind of like obtain most of the rare ones, it was like a natural progression. It's more like the challenge and the hunt. I feel like for me, I started collecting some dusties, so I've probably got, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 pretty cool old bottles. Hard as hell to find, but yeah, the dusty stuff, man. Josh has been over and had some. I think you've had some over there. The experience of drinking that, it's like time in a bottle.
Yeah.
You know, just the sheer fact. I mean, the nostalgia, I can relate it to hot rods because I mean, that's why we do what we do, because we love vintage stuff. It's the experience. It's going back in time. Being able to crack open a bottle from the 30s and sip it, and it's just a phenomenal experience. There's a tiny little bit of you that's worried that like maybe you're going to go blind, or you know, so there's something in there that's going to kill you. But I'd say, I mean, I've had all the you know, the sought after bourbons, the Papis and the this and the that. But when you get into some of that like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s stuff, it's hard to hang with that.
Well, there's a funk that you just can't replicate, you know, and that's what's so special about it. But we're not frou-frou guys. I mean, we're not going to go through the 35 different you know, flavors on the palate and all the other kind of stuff. Whatever it's going to be. Wow, that's really good. You know, that's okay or whatever. But on the dusties, it's such a unique experience because you can take that time, you know, because everything's slowing down. You're looking at the bottle. You're looking at everything on the bottle. You're, you know, thinking about how did this thing even make it to here over the last, you know, 40, 50,
Where
60
was it?
years. I mean, where was it? Where did its life, you know, and you're looking at the artwork. Everything was different back then. And then that's when you get into like drinking it. And it's just kind of like, it's such a special experience that it's just, I don't know. It's really good.
Yeah,
it did different back then. It makes me wonder how any of it survived to make it to us, because I would have drank it all if I was around back then.
Yeah, we drank a 1940. Was it? I don't know if it's Weller Family Reserve or what they call it, or William LaRue Weller. It's a 40s Weller, and that was just to knock your socks off, man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
They've been right for a long time, but you start getting into, you know, pre-GMO corn and how they used to just let it kind of sit out and then get rained on and all that stuff, and the effect that it has, and the, you know, first and second generation oak that was being cut back then, or, you know, it's different. So Dusty's are where it's at, though, man. That's some of my favorites, and I'm with you. It's the thrill of the chase. You know, you find it, and you get that high from it, that adrenaline rush, and then you crack it, and just like, you know, everybody says good whiskey's meant to be drank. And just make sure you're doing it with good people. So crack the bottles and have good people around you to enjoy that. Kind of makes you slow down a little bit. So
it does. Yeah, the slowing down part I think is the.
You better slow down because you know how much every sip costs.
Yeah.
When you got one of those,
you're never going to find it again.
Yeah.
Just keep chasing estate sales and looking for old widows that are moving into retirement homes.
Yeah, it's hard to find. I mean, I'm sure you've got your resources. Obviously, when you do what you do for a living, you've got resources. But I started looking on, I shouldn't share this secret with people, but on Facebook Marketplace, I started looking for like credenzas, antique liquor cabinets, people selling the article of furniture. And then I'd zoom in on it and see what's in it, because they usually take the picture when it's like at grandma's house before they yard it out, because the estate sales, obviously the people they're wise to what that's worth. You're never finding an estate sale listing because it's gone. That stuff is out of there. And I zoomed in and I just recently bought, I think of like 6 bottles, and I found it was just in an old ass cabinet, and they were, you know, mom died or grandma died and they were clearing it out. And they're like right in the bottom cabinet you could see a little old Fitz. It was a very old Fitz, the little pint. And I just reached out, said, hey, not really interested in the cabinet, but what about all the stuff in the cabinet? Yeah.
And I buy the juice that's in there.
Yeah. So that worked out kind of cool.
It's crazy to see, you know, I mean, people that just don't realize what they have. You know, we have a couple bottles that were gifts for groomsmen at a wedding in the 70s, and they, you know, put it up in his attic, and then he heard his sons talking about how they can't find Weller Foolproof, and he was like, oh, I have some of that. And what Weller Antique 107 from 1970. He's like, his son's like, all right, Dad, let me show you what you got here. And the guy put it in his attic and forgot about it for 40 something years. So
It's interesting. Like you think it's so rare, but then when you really think about it, I've probably got bottles of Bacardi that are 20, 25 years old because you buy the stuff and it slides to the back of the liquor cabinet.
Yeah.
And you just, I'm sure there's
just keep holding on. That rum's going to come on next.
Yeah,
that
handle of Captain Morgan, I think, is going to be worth something one of these days.
Dusty Captain Morgan.
Yeah.
For someone that's we talk to listeners all the time and friends and stuff that are they're just starting to venture off into it. They're like, I've started to acquire taste. I'm starting to like whiskey now. I want to start collecting. I want to start buying these bottles and all that. And as we all know, now's as difficult a time as any to procure the good stuff. But somebody getting into it, what is some advice that you can give them as far as mainstays or don't believe the hype on this, or what's some advice somebody just starting out in the whiskey game?
I would definitely say you want to start with a little bit lower proof. 80 proof is a great starting point. Basil Hayden, I think, is an awesome starter bourbon for people because it's high rye. It's not going to be overly sweet. They can sip on it. It's not going to affect them too quickly to where they can still kind of enjoy it. You want to take a large sip of water and a small sip of bourbon, maybe on your first sip, and then slowly start to decrease the water and increase the bourbon is a good way to kind of start to pick up on some of the flavor profiles. If you hear all your friends talk about it, don't pay what they're paying for it would also be a rule. I would recommend, there are a few brands out there that are just going for astronomical prices. And I always tell people, like, it's a good thing that people are getting into it. And, that they hear that there's a fantastic bourbon and they're willing to pay whatever. That just means that more people are getting into the spirit. More people are finding out about it. And whether they have expendable income or whatever that may be, if it increases the price and you're not able to find it, then do your homework and go find the next value bourbon. Go find the next McKenna 10-year, Johnny Drum, Old Granddad, Bottled and Bond. Get into those. And, it doesn't always have to be a Weller or a Papi or, there's some really, really good stuff out there that the beauty of it, the beauty of the spirit is I may love something that y'all hate and y'all may love something that I hate. It's all about your perception. If you don't taste marzipan in something and somebody else does, then that's all right,
Yeah, I recently just tried that out because you go to your mainstays, you always want to buy like top shelf stuff. I've always been intrigued by what's on the bottom shelf that might be pretty good. So I don't know if you're familiar, but in Chicago, there's Jepson's. They make a liqueur called Malort. I'm sure. So I don't know why the hell people drink it or what the hell you do with it. It's absolutely vile.
It's like hazing.
Yeah.
When you're in Chicago, you got to take a shot.
Yeah, you buy it for somebody else. You don't buy it for yourself.
Right. Well, they recently came out with a bourbon, and then there was a Benny's store pick of Jepson's bourbon. So I'm like, oh shit. I mean, it's a Chicago thing. They've been around forever. Let's try it. I think it was like $20 or something. It's actually drinkable. I mean, you can drink it. You can drink it neat. It's good enough that you can drink it neat. So I've been intrigued by that. I don't know if you have any input on like what's
the most underrated out there.
What's
right
on
now?
the bottom shelf? Like we've got one sitting up there in the back corner. It's David Nicholson.
Oh, great.
So I've been intrigued by it because I've got an original, like a David Nicholson from the 60s, and I haven't opened it yet, but that's been, every time I see that, the label's still the same. I'm sure the fucking bourbon's nowhere near the same, but is that drinkable?
Oh yeah, the David Nicholson is a sleeper. J.W. Dant, JTS Brown, all of these are older labels that have been doing it for a long time. That if you're in the industry, you know that it's a daily drinker. Is kind of what it's referred to. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that term, but Old Forester 100 proof is also another one. Old Granddad Bottled and Bond is stellar. It used to be McKenna 10-year until people wrote some articles about it and everybody found out. And Johnny Drum is another one. So that's kind of what I was getting at as far as values. That's the name of the game for me. That's where the fun is. You don't have to go out and drop, 100, 150 on a bottle just to get a good bourbon. you can find some in that $25 to $35 range and share it with somebody, and they probably haven't had it before because nobody's talking about it. So
That's sweet.
Bardstown's another one. Bardstown, they do an estate as well. That's maybe $30. But yeah, that's the name of the game for me, and that's where the fun is, and that's what keeps it fresh. Is the dusties are fun, the cocktails are fun. You know, having some really nice stuff is fun, but going out and just hunting, man, and finding some stuff. And preconceived notions. I think once people get outside of their own head, because their bourbon friend told them that wild turkey is trash, or because they got too drunk on it when they were a teenager or something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
If you get outside of your own head, that's the number one thing I tell to a lot of people coming in. It's like, all right, if I blindfolded you and you tasted all these, you'd be surprised which ones were your favorite.
What was one we did? It was last year. The early times. The blue, that blue
bottle,
label,
bottle and bond.
Bottle Bond early times.
Oh yeah,
that was great.
Yeah.
For it was what,
$19.99.
Was it that cheap?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's out there.
Well, I'm gonna pop that David Nicholson because I've killed this cocktail, so I need some.
Get you some. What's now the opposite of that? What is some of the most overrated bourbons right now?
I mean, overrated is a tough word for me because they'll be good, but they're just way overpriced. People are paying extraordinary amounts of U.S. dollars for Blanton's, and that blows my mind. I'll drink Blanton's, but I'm not paying $300 for a bottle of it. And it's one of those things that's just the word got out and people found it. You know, they found out about this Papi, and then you couldn't find Papi, and they found out that, well, it actually comes from, the Weller family. Okay, well, let's buy up all the Weller 12-year and all the Elmer T. Lee, and then that turned into now everybody's buying up the Blanton's. So that's definitely one of them, I think.
It's dusty.
Pin this on you and say some of the ones that get slept on, if that's all right with you, is I think the Russells out of Wild Turkey, a lot of their stuff doesn't go as often as I think it should. They're doing some great stuff with the Russells. I know Russell's 13 was named Whiskey of the Year, but a lot of their stuff just gets slept on, man. The rare breed for $50 to $60 a bottle, you're not going to beat that in the entire market. A lot of the Old Forester stuff gets slept on. So I think Buffalo Trace is probably the number one name right now and has been for the past 5 to 10 years. Everything that they're doing, people just can't get enough of, rightfully so. But to what extent, what are you willing to pay for an 80 or 90 proof bourbon?
Well, that's what's crazy. Even in just the last 2 to 3 years, I mean, up here, Eagle Rare 3 years ago was everywhere, every place. I mean, even a gas station, it was $30.
Yeah,
and that's
$1.30, $1.50.
Yeah, that's unobtainable now. And I guess that, to your point, it's not that it's overhyped. It's how much are you willing to pay? At X price, it's great. At X price, I'll probably find something else.
That's it, and that's where I am too. It's just it's gone so far one way. I'm waiting on the pendulum to swing back. I'll probably die waiting on that to happen. But Eagle Rare, all those, they're good. Colonel E.H. Taylor used to be able to go into a liquor store and open the Blanton's box and pick which top you wanted, so you could get the right letter that you were missing. And now it's the secondary market's taking certain things just through the roof. It's incredible.
Yeah,
me and my buddies used to go to Jewel, the big grocery store chain up here, and they had 6-pack prices on Blanton's, and it was a 20% discount if you buy 6 of them. So 3 of us would go, we'd buy a 6-pack of Blanton's, we'd each take 2 bottles and go home. And it was, you're paying $35, $40 for a bottle of Blanton's, and we'd joke like, oh, one day this is going to be the Pappy, you're not going to get it.
Sure
5 years later.
Yeah, I mean, literally circle down, and I hear stories like that. I used to do it myself. I mean, I remember when Year Taylor first came out, and I was like, oh, that's good. It'll probably disappear, and we're joking about it. And look, now you can't find it. Buffalo Trace, we have issues. We wanted to put it in a cocktail here, and we're trying to get cases of it, and it's allocated. And every week, but it's harder to find now. It's just crazy.
It's not allocated up.
Yeah, that's the one thing around here. There's a liquor store right by the shop here that periodically they'll have like the handle, the big,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Buffalo.
yeah, Buffalo. So I've got this thing where I want one, then I get one, but I don't want to open that one unless I have another one that's on reserve. So you grab another, but I mean, shit, it's like
Like
50 bucks or
No, it's
something.
not.
It's
Yeah,
for
it was
39.
for
I
the
think.
for the
39,
big
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the big ones.
Oh,
When
yeah.
they do the specials and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I know this
Yeah,
is
well,
this is probably convoluted, but there's a lot of different reasons. But why do you think that is? Why do you think it was like that 3, 4, 5 years ago and where it is now? I know it's obviously there's a lot more people coming into it and stuff, but what's your thoughts and your take on why the bourbon game is where it's at now?
I mean, historically, what people drink, the spirits, it swings, and it's just like everything else. It goes away and then it comes back. Nobody wants to drink what their grandpa was drinking for a few years in the '80s, so everybody goes to vodka and gin, and then when it swings back and everybody wants bourbon, well, the thing about bourbon is it takes time to make, so you can't just go out and buy it all, right? You have to distill it and it ages, and I don't think that the industry was ready. It's kind of like a city that grows too fast without the infrastructure. You're going to have traffic jams, and you're going to have all the issues with the lack of hotel rooms and all that. So there's the glass shortage. You're dealing with the pandemic and the supply shortage of everything in the world right now. So a lot of companies kind of think they're caught with their pants down and didn't have the contracts in place to ensure that they had glass to bottle up everything that they have. I think it all plays into it. It's grown so much globally, not just here in the States, but a huge market in Asia for it. I know that Europe's growing, but a lot more people buying the stuff, and that just, the supply and demand, that's what drives it up for sure.
You might not be a age statement kind of guy, but have you found that with your palate and your individual choice taste that there's a specific age statement that will always work for you, that's always good?
I wouldn't say always, because you're always going to be surprised, but 8 to 12 is the sweet spot for me. I think anything younger than 8, I'll try, but I'm going to have apprehension. I have to do the blind tasting thing that I said, blindfold myself, and not go into a preconceived notion of it's only 4-year-old. I tasted some great 6-year-old stuff the other day. And Heaven Hill 6 is great. But if we're talking like actual sweet spot, 8 to 12, it's fantastic for me. If you start getting into the teens, I think it starts to traditionally we're a bit oaky. 20s is just like, what are we doing here? It's not like Scotch where it's like 50 degrees all year and it never gets in and out of the wood. Like, it's jumping in and out here in Kentucky pretty fast. It gets 105 some days in the summer, and then we get down to the negative some days in the winter. So it's pushing and pulling on that barrel a lot. So it doesn't take long if you have that big of a swing in the temperature, which we tend to. I think 6 to 14 would be ideal for me. 8 to 12 is definitely a sweet spot.
That's cool. That's cool to hear, because I've always felt I don't have a lot of knowledge, but I have a lot of bourbon. And I always think that I've said the 12-year is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
I always seek out anything that's a 12-year because I just like it. And I've got, like, in the Papi collection, I've got them all. I will not open the 15, the 20, or the 23. They'll just sit there forever because they're really not, in my opinion, just not that good. But the 10 and the 12's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I love it. And anything that's like it, I've bought plenty of 12. Like, there's some cheaper 12-year bourbons that are phenomenal. So much good stuff in that year range.
Yeah, I think it's perfect, man. 12, Elijah Craig 12 is incredible. If you ever get your hands on some of that, it's such a sweet spot for it because it's had enough time. It's not going to get overly one way or the other. It tends to be a lot more balanced right around there, where you've had enough time in there. And you think about it's 48 seasons. It's pretty much done. It's ran its course. It's in its cycle, and then you start getting over that. It starts getting overly oaky. A lot of the stuff can get a little spicy, and honestly, you're losing more of it each year if you leave it in there to the angel share. So might as well go ahead and pull it out.
What do you think about the Kentucky Par?
I love Kentucky Par.
We got a couple bottles when we were down there visiting you, actually, and that was a complete gamble. Didn't know anything about it. That shit's a dark horse.
Yeah.
That stuff's good.
Yeah, we got it. Just Josh found it, and it jumped out to me just because the bottle looks old, and I like old shit. So we picked it up.
it's one of the newer items on the market, so not a lot of people know about it, and it's a dangerous game to play when you come in and you're sourcing your whiskey or whatever, and you're putting that big age statement on it, and you're charging what you're charging. If you don't have established demographic, it's a lot of trouble to get your name out there without coming across pretentious. So
Right.
I love it. We've had it as the pour of the day a couple of times, trying to get the work. It's good stuff.
How do you feel about bourbon that's not made in Kentucky?
I'm a lot more open to it than I was when I was younger. I used to be a lot more stubborn and be like, "Well, that's a Kentucky product," and I was young and dumb. There's so much to be made outside the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I've had some of my favorite bourbons that I've tasted over the past year have been outside of the state. So, Old Elk out of Colorado.
Yeah. Old Elk.
Yeah. High West does some cool stuff. We have an entire shelf actually dedicated to non-Kentucky stuff because that's important to us to kind of get people where my mentality used to be to where my mentality is now, and say, get off your high horse and try some of this shit. It's delicious.
What is your customer's mentality on that?
Some people are super open, just like y'all when you came in. There's a lot of people in Kentucky like that. They're like, yeah, give me all of that. Put me on some stuff that I don't know about. It's not readily accessible here. And then it's also on the flip side, we have a lot of folks from out of town, just like y'all as well. They come down from New York and they see that we have Widow Jane and they drink it. So it's been really cool to see people recognize. And then it's also, they find something that makes them feel comfortable. So something that they're familiar with from back home. If they're from Colorado and they see the Old Elk, if they're from somewhere and we have some Smoke Wagon and they're from out there and they're familiar, it gives them kind of a comfort zone to kind of start and initiate the conversation until they feel comfortable enough to really step out and be like, all right, now I trust y'all. What do you have for me next? Kind of like y'all do.
Sweet. I had to take a little hiatus from the non-Kentucky bourbons because I got years and years ago, I was in Colorado, and the only thing that the bar had that I was at was Tin Cup. It was fucking terrible, right? So I was like, okay, yeah, obviously it's not made. It was probably 15 years ago. I'm like, it's not made in Kentucky, so I'm just never going to drink
Kentucky water in it.
Well, then the second time around, we're at Copper Fiddle, which is it holds the title for
going there, huh?
Yeah, I'm going there. It holds the title for the world's worst bourbon, hands down, and it happens to be like 3 miles from my house. So they have this little bar there and they serve, they can't even disguise it in a cocktail. If you put it in they make an old fashioned and it tastes like stale corn. So yeah, I got soured by those, but then we got into the Old Elk, and that Old Elk, oh my dude, the Old Elk, it's all three of us. I think it's in our top. Yeah, it's one of our top bourbons. We all love the Old Elk wheated.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about it being like America's spirit. You know what I mean? It's not just Kentucky spirit, and kind of growing up and maturing and learning that there's other places out there. It's kind of nice to stay on the same temperate zone. So, going across to Colorado and staying on this thing where you get all 4 seasons, I think that helps. But yeah, there's also a lot of trash out there.
Yeah.
So you're in the bar and breaking news pops up. It's zombie apocalypse. It's hitting Louisville first. You get the time to pick 3 bottles to grab with you before you go home and save the wife and kids. It's the only 3 that you might ever have again. What's the 3 you grab?
There's a Cheesy Gold Foil that's a wild turkey from the 80s. It's actually known as Cheesy Gold Foil. If you're not familiar with it, look it up. The 1972 Weller Antique 107 that's on the wall. Are we talking just like approachable or
just whatever's in arm's reach?
You can grab 3, and it doesn't matter why you're grabbing them. You can just only grab 3.
Well, probably I'd say George Stagg too, because that typically runs in the 130s, and if the zombies are coming, I'm probably trying to get jacked up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and you could make a Molotov cocktail out of that stuff pretty quick.
Atomic bomb with that.
I've struggled with the Stag. I've got a few bottles of it, and is it hot? That sucker.
William LaRue Weller, all the BTAC stuff is killer. But yeah, those are definitely up there. I'd have to probably try to recruit some help and be like, guys, come on, let's all numbers, let's all grab 3 and get out of here.
Are you drinking a George T. Stagg neat?
Yeah, Yeah, with a lot of water next to me, but I'd probably, I'd take a couple of sips neat and then drop a little bit of water in there probably.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that seems to be about the only one I
Drop
gotta
some
like.
Prilosec, I think, with it.
Yeah, it's good. The taste is phenomenal, but it is
yeah.
hot.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those that makes you slow down and enjoy it. You can't knock it back, right? It's take small sips of it, and you're gonna feel it all. I mean,
Yeah.
the water's key though. The water's the clutch.
Does it have to be limestone water, or any old water is fine?
If I sold limestone water, I'd say yes, but no, just any old. So the good thing about limestone water is they freeze it, it makes the clear ice cubes. So there's a company around the Commonwealth that does that, and Kentucky Straight Ice. That's who we get some of our cubes from, because it is really cool to be able to look down through the bottom of your glass and see directly through it. But as far as just any old water that you can put in, just get some nice cold water. The technical term a lot of people use is branch water. They get it from out in the county, wherever they were building the distilleries originally. They just go down there and get a bunch of it, and creek water basically. But no, anything cold, man, put a drop in there, it's gonna open it up.
And to make these ice cubes for this cocktail today, I had to boil that because where we're at, you've got everybody's on well water and it's hard water. So
Yep.
if you just throw that in there and freeze it, it looks like you froze milk.
It's like
It's like a milk ice cube.
It's a cotton ball.
Yeah.
We're blessed to have some of the best water in the country here in Louisville, but a lot of people will boil it. I'll tell you another technique is just throw it in a cooler. If you have an area where you can freeze it, or just a big Tupperware or something, and set it in your freezer open. Don't put a top on it, and then you can kind of knock the bottom off, and the rest of it will be clear where it's all settled.
Yeah, I got a ice cube maker from Amazon. It's like $20. It's a big, tall thing. You fill it up with water, and the bottom freezes, and then the cubes sit on top of it.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it's crystal clear, right out of the well.
Look
Thanks.
at you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those with us.
How long have you had
Philip?
Probably 2 years now.
I've had approximately 0 of those ice cubes. How many have you had?
0. Phil's
Unfortunate.
secretive.
He is.
He just lives in.
He probably has a small distillery in his basement that we don't know about.
Got a pot still going out back.
I'm not sharing any good bottles with you if you're keeping the good cubes.
What's now we talked about bottles. What's your personal favorite drink on the menu?
Oh, you named a few of them. I like boozy drinks, man. I like the one that we're actually just getting ready to put the one that y'all made on for the summer menu. We're doing seasonal menus, so we're rotating 5 or 6 out, bringing 5 or 6 new ones on. Old fashions are great. The one with the Coke kind of takes me back. I can have one of those before I move on to something a little more boozy. But yeah, I'd say that. And I think you all tasted our frozen Kentucky coffee.
We did.
yeah.
That is
Man.
good.
I wish
That's
I could
like a
have one of
dessert.
those every morning. That's good.
Yeah.
You need just out the window with the yardstick glasses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you just
People
straight
be
going
coming
to the city
Bourbon
that
They'd be
street.
coming by on scooters, grabbing those. Might take away from the brand a little bit, but
We actually changed our windows to where we can prop them open now, so we can just stand there and sell them like a lemonade stand.
Yeah.
So actually, question on that: do you do cocktails to go?
Yeah, so it's still legal here. During the pandemic, they opened it up. It's one of the things that I loved about New Orleans when I was introduced to the culture was, the Go Cup idea. And I'm over here like looking over my shoulder, making sure I'm cool, and like you get a buzz going down there, and you forget that it's actually legal. And then, of course, when things opened up here, everybody in general was on their best behavior, so nobody really ruined it for everybody. As long as you can throw, a piece of tape over it and say don't open until you get home. Treat it like a bottle of wine that you bought at the bar that's in a bag that, you expect somebody to, of course, not have a sip while they're walking home.
Obviously.
Absolutely.
Now, we were just in Seattle and went to a Mexican restaurant that had like some, I guess, famous margaritas, and they were selling them bottled to go.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a cool idea because you guys do some pretty awesome stuff that,
Yeah.
DoorDash
head and
that.
shoulders above. But
DoorDash it.
Yeah. When when the pandemic started, just a quick version of the story. The day everything was shutting down, a buddy of mine that can't make a drink to save his life was like, "Look, I've got beer, I've got wine, I've got bourbon, but I want some cocktails for my wife. Can you make me some?" And I just whipped some up, put them in a mason jar, dropped them on the patio, and then their neighbors wanted some. It was like light bulb, and so I started making and delivering drinks for about a year and a half when the whole thing first hit. It was all like house made. That's how I learned how to make Bloody Mary mix, house made syrups, everything from scratch. And it kept me busy for a year and a half. And like, it was insane. My brother had to actually take over creating a route for the day to where he would drive around and deliver them.
That's awesome.
Like administrative issues, and really got to know a lot of cool people. And it was part of the inspiration for some of the cocktails on the list. Is some of the stuff that people really enjoyed when I was doing that. So,
did you have them like in the trunk of a 40 Ford that you were running around?
That'd be cool.
I wish I was making enough, but the daughter took all the income that came from it. But it was a fun experience. Mason jars for everybody. I'm not sure about the legality of that at that point, but
yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, if they're listening, I swear I was on the up and
up. What's coming up new for North of Bourbon?
Oh, let's see. We got got a lot coming up. We just did our first pairing dinner a couple of weeks ago with the distillery. So chef paired 4 of their items with some really cool stuff. We have already signed up the next 5 distilleries, which is really cool. Started to do some distillery tours with staff and with the Bourbon Locker members. We have some pop-ups coming up, some James Beard Award nominees. They're going to come up and do some cooking. We're doing some guest bartending with some people that we're in contact with from different cities. Trying to get out and get the word out. And then we have a few irons in the fire to see about possible expansion down the road. So trying to keep our head down and grinding and take this mindset to the next level.
We need North of Bourbon, north of Chicago is what we need.
We do. I mean, it could be the north
side
north of Chicago. Yeah.
So wait, we have to be. Let's see. The south side of the Sox, right? So
yeah,
the fucking Sox. There's white trash down there, man. You don't want to go anywhere near that. Fucking Sox fans.
I know we have to have some affiliation of some sort, so I'm gonna lean on y'all to put me in there.
Well, this episode is going to be coming out basically 3 or 4 days before the Louisville Street Rod Nationals. Our majority of our listeners are going to be headed to that show, and I assume you can get reservations online. They can pop in. I'm calling on all of our listeners. I mean, you've got to have a drink and dinner while you're
several drinks
there in that weekend.
Can't have just one there.
But I'm calling on Brad though. You got to keep a table for us. I mean, we're going to come in too. We don't want to talk the place up and then not be able to get a fucking cocktail.
He's got that window though. We could sit outside. We can get the to-go drinks.
Send them our way. You can jump on Open Table and search us. You can get set up. We are a small establishment. We have about less than 50 seats. So it makes it a little tough sometimes, but everybody gets to know each other. It's a lot of fun. And Jessica has my information. If you shoot me a text, I will save y'all a table for sure.
Awesome, man.
I'll probably jump in the table and bring a bottle over, and we'll have to.
Well, the Nationals, they kick off on a Thursday, isn't it? It's a 4-day show.
Thursday, Friday.
So
Saturday,
I would expect, because I'm sure you guys are bumping on Friday and Saturdays, it's going to be our goal to fill North of Bourbon with street riders on Thursday night.
Thursday night?
Yeah.
That's the night?
Yep. We're going to figure out how to do it. We're going to pump it.
Well, I'll try to work on coming up with some cool concepts for you. And we'll do maybe a cocktail specifically for the street riders. How about that?
Sounds good.
That would be awesome.
We got a couple of standard questions before we go. I know you got to get back to work, man. This is stuff we ask every single guest. We're gonna tailor it just a little bit for you. But first up, what's in your pocket? You got to do a pocket dump.
What's that?
What is physically in your pockets right now? You've got to do a pocket dump.
Oh, let's see. I've got a bar key. I've got some local distillery popped by earlier. Unfortunately, had to do some tasting.
Sounds unfortunate.
Yeah, it's always terrible. And it's like, then there's a brewery, a business card from a brewery that was hanging out, and she was kind enough to wait around for me, so I got to chase the pours with some beers. Let's see what else. So yeah, there's no money in here, unfortunately. All gone to the daughter and wifey, like I said. Yeah, like got the keys out. That's it, man.
Hey, you never.
I got to keep that with me so I can open a cold beer while I'm searching for bourbon online. But
You never know what you're going to get. You'd be surprised at what we get with some of our guests with what's in their pockets.
Nothing fun, but I can imagine y'all probably get some wild answers.
We've had an alligator head, a $1,000 bill.
Yeah, $500 bill.
$500 bill.
Yeah, stupid stuff. We generally ask what's somebody's favorite car movie because we're usually having guests on that are more in the car industry. But for you, what is your best restaurant/bar movie or TV show?
Other than Roadhouse, because that's obvious.
Well, Roadhouse is obvious.
Swayze East in that. That's a good question. There's a really good documentary called Neat. If I can go that route, I'm sure y'all have seen that. But let's see, movie. I don't know. Bar Rescue's pretty funny because I like a good laugh every now and then.
What would happen if Tafferty came into your place?
Oh, he wouldn't be able to say shit. Taffer would just be like,
looks
shit.
like you got it figured out.
Like, just keep going. Give me a drink.
Fortunate enough to have him promote. We're doing selling some T-shirts to help local service industry. We were buying a bunch of grocery gift cards with the proceeds. It was called Bourbon is Essential, basically. So a couple of buddies of mine and myself and his Taffer's daughter was on the board of one of their companies, and he was kind enough to kind of promote the T-shirt and get some sales going for some local people. So I got to put. Yeah, he's a savage on the show, man. He makes me laugh. So.
Oh, I love it. I've watched it for years. It's a funny show.
Yeah. Well, the people like it. There's some interesting bar owners out there.
Oh yeah.
Well, even though you're not in the car industry, this is something we're going to ask you as well, just like we ask every single guest. Just because I want to know. I think listeners want to know. What was your favorite? What was your first car that you ever owned, and a funny story about that car?
Oh man, it was a '96 Ford Explorer that I bought pretty much off my mom, essentially, and wasn't supposed to end up buying it, but I took it out for a joyride with the buddies, and we went over a hill, and I destroyed the suspension. And buy this now, and I'll use that money to buy something else. So,
did you jump it? Did you jump it? How much air?
We did, and then we tried to recreate it, but I didn't have the gusto that I had the first time.
That's a one and done.
I got shook. I mean, we ended up. It was a bad situation. We went and ended up on 2 for a second. Luckily enough, didn't end up on our side. But yeah, it was. I was young and dumb.
Yeah, so you don't have to be a car guy to do stupid shit in a car. You know?
That was like the coolest thing in high school. There was like 5 or 6 big jumps around town.
The great bump at Deerfield, remember?
Yeah, Joey Strauss's jump.
Yep, Joe Strauss.
And we would all just go around and try to jump our cars and
our parents' cars.
Yeah, I think we put 3 or 4 radiators in the LeBaron.
Yeah, those were the days.
And might as well. What's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah, I say that all the time.
Fucking send it. They're not gonna tow it. That's right? That's what I always say.
And what's the best advice you've ever received?
Slow down. Slow down. Enjoy yourself. Don't keep looking ahead. Enjoy the people around you, and that's a huge part of what I like about bourbon. I said it earlier. It makes you slow down. Take a look around you. Enjoy the people around you instead of making plans for all of these things and not being able to enjoy where you are in life. Because I always was full of making big plans and ended up failing out of engineering school in Nashville when I was younger and not knowing what I was doing. And once I started slowing down and really having thought out plans, and started to magically start working out a little bit better. So I think that and again, good whiskey is meant to be drank. Open it up, bring some good people over, and enjoy the hell out of it. So
awesome, man.
That's all I get.
Yeah.
Well, definitely appreciate you having me on. And the fact that y'all came down and had such a good time means a lot to us. That's what we're all about down here. And the fact that the sister-in-law pointed you in our direction meant a lot to us as well. So
Oh,
hey,
absolutely.
thanks for repping the shirt. I see you over there.
Yeah, Josh
Appreciate
is rocking it.
Yeah, did you guys call each other and set this up so you were matching or what?
I wasn't going to say anything. That's fine.
Yeah, I think my sister-in-law is Nicole Priest. She must know, it must be your brother, because she said she knows one of the owners there, and the place is awesome. You got to check it out. And since we did such a piss poor job of planning our bourbon trail, weekend, we got into like virtually no distilleries, no distillery tours. But it doesn't matter because that was the highlight. I mean, we went in, we toured some, we did like the gift shop thing, but that was the highlight of our bourbon trail weekend by far.
Even over my scooter wreck.
No, I take that back.
Scooter wreck.
Josh's scooter wreck was the highlight of my weekend. Second to that was North of Bourbon, because I think it was shortly after. Wasn't it after?
It was.
Yeah.
The scooter rentals out by you?
Yeah.
Josh had a high-speed wreck.
It was a 13 mile an hour. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
high
we
speed.
almost lost him. It wasn't your fault. He left. We all left fairly sober. I mean, we had a great time, but Josh just lost it, man. It was just driver error. But anyway,
That scooter was the thing, man.
These things are dangerous.
Yeah.
Uh,
Get on them. I can't.
awesome, man. I'm looking forward to getting down there. Looking forward to seeing you, hanging out, and enjoying
Having
some more
cocktails.
and food. So
Anybody listening that's headed to Louisville,
Check out North of Bourbon.
yeah, you better get your reservation in 'cause it's gonna be
Get it.
packed.
Hit us up, man. If I can get some people to actually come in here and work, I'd love to come up there and take the lady up there. She's a big fan. I love the town, so I'll definitely be in touch with y'all anytime we're up there.
Absolutely,
that'd be
man.
fantastic, dude. We'll take you for a hot rod ride.
Hell yeah, that'd be fun, man.
All right, dude.
I appreciate it.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers,
Cheers,
man.
man.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Big thanks again, though, to Brad Jennings. Remember, you can check out North of Bourbon's website at northofbourbon.com, to find them on Facebook at North of Bourbon and on Instagram at North of Bourbon KY. Hop on Open Table. I know everybody listening, there's, either in the car or they're at Louisville, or, he's thinking about going. You better get a table.
Oh, you've got to get there. Whether you're a foodie or a bourbon junkie or not.
Cocktails. I think
Yeah,
that was the biggest thing we took away. Like, we all went there for the huge, like, rare bourbon list, and none of us had a
Nobody had a
rare
rare.
bourbon. We
No.
had just ran through every cocktail on the list.
And don't even worry about it. Honestly, like, just close your eyes and just point your finger. Whatever one you pick, it's going to be awesome. And then the food. I mean, dude, my mouth's watering right now thinking about the catfish.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. Next up, it's time for the glove box. All right, it's time for the glove box, where we tell you about some of the cool new gear, guns, EDC shit, whiskey, and other stuff we're into. This In the Glove Box segment is brought to you by none other than Bear Brakes. Talking about Bear Brakes,
Wearing the shirt.
you are wearing the shirt. Look at that.
Get a look at that.
If it's good enough for Phil, it's good enough for your chassis.
Well done.
I don't think there's a better Bear Brakes representation in recently since the OBS. You want to talk about a set of Bear Brakes? That's a good looking set of Bear Brakes.
Oh,
I don't know if they're
that's-
going to do any more of the.
That's probably a
Aqua?
one and done on that one.
Yeah.
you'd be surprised.
But
They might not do aqua, but
it's
you
like a
might.
teal anodized, isn't it?
It's like
Yeah.
a transparent
It's fucking badass.
teal
is what it
powder.
is.
With pink logos and 15-inch.
It's amazing what a 15-inch rotor will look like behind a 24-inch
It
wheel.
doesn't look that big. I mean, it's beautiful looking brake, but that 24-inch wheel,
Yeah.
that's a lot of wheel.
The cool part about working with Bear is that we can do a lot of custom one-off stuff, and they've got 40, 50 different color combos that they'll do on the calipers, custom logos if you want. And then just like, it works, that we use it on all the cars we build. Brakes are one of those things where you don't ever mess with, you don't want to screw with, you want them to always be there. So it's something you got to trust, and huge
Nobody's gotta-
confidence booster for us. So we can sell them and not have any questions, issues, concerns.
It's a huge benefit to our product and our business. The troubleshooting process, the last, like all your shakedown miles for a car, that's your time. That's your 500 miles to sort it out, to make any little adjustments, troubleshoot things. And in years past, when prior to using Bayer brakes, the majority of the hours and the time spent was always
We were using who?
the other brake company. It's a different brake company that
I
wasn't
thought
Bayer.
you were drunk enough to go ahead and drop it. I was trying to get you to talk shit.
But I mean, it was you're sticking wheel weights on calipers and things to try to get rid of harmonics and machining brackets and things. And it was always, you're spending a lot of time in that troubleshooting process. That is something that we don't ever touch in the sorting process. Car's done, car's on the road. The one thing you know it's going to do, it's going to
Brakes
stop.
are good.
Yeah.
I don't want this to
that-
sound pretentious or self-serving, but I look at Bear Brakes is to us what we hope we can be to other builders. It's you don't have to think about it. The quality's there.
Good
it's
analogy.
done, handled.
Nicely said, Josh.
Well,
Hey, you know what I'm going to do for that?
what's that?
I'm going to give you a slow clap on that.
Thank you.
I'd like to give you a jingle.
My favorite thing about Bear Brakes, though, is after all these years, I still don't know how to pronounce Rick's last name.
You don't know how to pronounce either.
It could
I
be
don't know if it's.
Elam.
Yeah, I've heard it a lot of different ways.
Elam?
Even if you ask Rick, he just kind of
Elamas.
smiles at you. Like, well, tell me how to pronounce it the correct way.
Elamio.
The Chevelle guys didn't know how to pronounce their last name either.
Yeah, they give us like 3 or 4 different ways.
Yeah.
But thanks to Bear Brakes, as always. And first up, what do we have in our pockets? Who wants to go first?
I think one of you guys has got to bring something to the table because I fucking killed it last week.
Fill it
2 weeks ago.
Fill it a big week.
Yeah, you killed it. We also
Killed it for you.
Killed it
We
for you.
aided in killing it.
Yeah.
In the killing of it.
you were the star.
was
but it
a
was
win.
took a
Killed.
team.
Yeah.
It was a win.
Yeah. It was killed.
What do you
I
got?
got to use the knives this weekend, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
How'd
Did
they
a
work
little
out?
bit of grilling. Very, very sharp. Cut the shit out of some meat
Nice.
and looked really awesome. I had to like break out the slightly nicer cutting board, lay the meat out, make sure it was like perfect medium rare, so I can send you guys a picture and
Did
throw
you
it in
gather
your face.
everybody up?
I did.
Hey, y'all get in here.
Don't
Turn off Blue's Clues. Get in here.
Hey,
First,
First,
Jer came running in after turning the TV off.
first and foremost, don't be fucking with these knives. All
Yeah,
right.
these are sharp. These are a gift.
I got the comment from her. Oh, let me guess. You got to do something for Instagram.
Instagram. Do you have like a?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've never seen you post anything on Instagram.
I am holding steady to a solid 1 post every 3 to 5 years.
I'm about there. Yeah, that's.
I get yelled at by Chris and Mike for not using Instagram right. I think I've commented on 2 or 3 things. I've liked maybe 5, and I might have 10 to 15 posts in my 15-year career.
Sounds like you're using it right. What do you got?
I didn't stack the pockets. Dude, I've got nothing.
Would you rather just not go so it doesn't look bad?
Yeah. I'm just gonna. Just gonna get rid of
That's a
all
pocket dump right there.
Just gonna get rid of all the things. Dude. What else? Yeah. Oh, that landed nicely though.
Sure did.
Bam! I think that just might have warped the table a little bit.
Good
It's
grief.
camera's still shaking.
It still is shaking. Nothing real special. We talked about the keychain?
Mhm.
The one thing on the keychain we didn't talk about though is the Camaro keychain portion of it. You
Yep.
see that?
What about that?
You see that? Can everybody see that?
Oh, yeah.
That has been in my pocket for 20 plus years. Every
20
day.
plus years. That means that's been big pockets, small pockets,
Every
medium
day.
pockets.
Yeah, that
That's
was
been in some
Jinkos?
That was it, yeah.
some super
Dude,
skinny jeans.
this sucker was in some wide
His
legs.
Lululemon meggings.
No shit, since some 16. So yeah,
Jams.
20, 23,
Those little after jams.
3 years. Right, yeah.
Tucked him into his bike shorts.
Yeah, wide legs, skinny jeans, Sutters, cargos, khakis,
It's all the type of stuff you're
you
into.
name it. It's had every key attached to it, multiple shops, multiple cars. You
Was
name
that
it.
the keychain on the 69
It
Camaro?
was. I lost. It was devastating when I lost the little leather thing. Yeah, you know it. I mean, you've
Yeah,
seen these.
know
I
exactly.
picked it up, I think, at like World of Wheels or Chevy Vet Fest back in the day. So it holds a little special place in my heart.
I wonder if anybody else does the same thing that we inadvertently do.
What's that?
Any set
Don't
of
touch. Hey,
keys,
don't touch that now.
any set of keys ends up with the same keychain on it that we bought the car with.
Oh yeah,
We have the most random off the wall shit
Yeah.
on your OBS
yeah.
keychain. Mine's got some green tag from like I think a uniform company in Arizona.
Yeah.
Um,
The Legend truck still, it has some car show. I've been
Yeah.
driving that for like 3 years every day. And it's like sticky too. It's nasty. But I still, yeah, because it's like a
Nasty.
rubbery kind of
Yeah.
thing, but I still
Nasty
just
like
rock
the
it.
dually steering wheel on the way.
No,
No.
not that. That's disgusting. That is just filth. That is
I
grotesque.
tell you what, I think I want myself one of these exo sets.
Yeah, you do want one of those. Everybody
I've
wants one
been
of those.
anti it for a while.
Why? Tell me why.
Well,
Because you
were
have
so-
it.
Yeah, you were so on it.
Yeah.
So it couldn't be like, oh yeah, it's cool. I always wanted to be like, yeah, whatever. I think this is the first time I ever held it in my hand.
How does it feel? Feels good, doesn't
It
it?
feels good in my hand. I'll tell you
Yep.
that. I like that.
I love it. I think they
I think I'm
say
gonna buy one.
the clip on it, I believe it's supposed to be more of a money clip. I use it, I clip it in my pants. I've never used it in a money clip, but I think it will. I think it probably work great as a money clip, but
It'll work good with all those dancing dollars you have there.
yeah, got the single up top
Do something with this.
as
honestly.
usual. What do you want me to do with it?
Just take it off camera.
Here's what do we got rocking? So let's see where the heft comes from.
For too
Eh,
many
we got-
things. That's
yeah.
what the
Yeah.
head comes from.
Anything.
How
And
many hotel keys are in there?
I actually just got rid of them this
but
morning.
Phil,
Josh knows. Hey,
hey,
He's talking.
yeah,
go ahead.
I have the mic. I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I saved you quite the walk, though, didn't I, with this fat ass wallet? Because when you don't purge it and you keep multiple years of your good guys season pass in there, how do you get into the good guys show when you
do a
forget
little
your
hand
tickets?
back?
No, I gave him the 2021, and I said, dude, you'll figure it out. Like, it's 2021 was written pretty small. I mean, granted, we've got a shit ton of tickets, but it's tough. It's an ordeal
You have
getting
to
in
keep
there.
up with the tickets and all that
Yeah.
stuff. It
So
worked.
yeah, Josh just flashed it, laid it down, said, "What'd you say?"
Well, I knew that it was if I didn't do some diversionary tactics that he was going to start inspecting it. So it was a show real quick and then verbally, dude, you ever seen one of those season tickets, man? Season pass. Dude, they give that to us. We were a sponsor. Season pass. That's awesome. Yeah, and I
And then you just kept
smoke
driving.
and mirrored him, and yeah.
Kind of a big deal.
Well, I think he was a little bit more taken aback with my enthusiasm, and he was just like, "Yeah, just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Go in, whatever."
Well, Microtech Exoset,
Great knife.
phenomenal carry, great action. Love this knife.
Before
Awesome
we
daily
get off
driver.
of your pockets, as an extension of your pockets, what is in your son's pockets right now?
Dude.
Has-
We
are
don't know.
we-
We don't know if that's in his pockets. It might be like at the local law enforcement's desk
Or
right now.
have we had an issue yet?
Not yet, but listen to this. I came home. What time did we get home? Probably 7, 8
Yeah,
o'clock.
7, 8 o'clock.
So I brought it home. So let me back up here. Wyatt has been asking for a pocket knife.
Horrible idea.
Terrible idea.
That's
right?
exactly what Maddox said. My,
Yeah.
my daughter.
Terrible.
This is the dumbest idea.
Terrible idea. At one point, I thought he was almost ready for one. And I said to him, I said, dude, what are you going to do with the pocket knife? I'm going to scare Charlie with it. Like, okay, you're not ready for a pocket knife. That's great, son. I appreciate you answering honestly. So,
Then Uncle Josh went out and bought a pocket knife.
yep. So Uncle Josh shows up and he says, hey, got something for Wyatt. I think he's going to think it's real cool. Yeah, he's definitely going to think that a fucking mini OTF Boker knife is super cool because I think it's cool. I'd love to have it, but I'm not 11 years old. So,
You should put Josh down as his emergency contact. to
Oh,
deal
yeah.
with
So
him.
listen,
Lindsay
I'm like,
already said, put me on the hook that I've got to entirely pay for the first hospital visit.
so I'm like, dude, you realize this is like a sharp ass blade. It comes out the front. It's slightly deadly. I mean, it's only like a 1-inch blade, small little blade. So Josh's response to that, oh, I'm gonna take it out. I'm gonna rub it on concrete a little bit. I'll rub it on the ground a little bit. It's a good blade, dude. It's not gonna like just. It's still razor sharp. I mean, you could still kill a small
not as
house
sharp-
cat
It's
with
not
it.
as sharp as it was, though.
No, it's about 6%.
Took about 20% off there, big
not
chief.
as sharp. So he gives it to Wyatt. Have you ever seen him light up like that?
No, he lit
I
up.
mean-
He said, thank you. Yeah,
He was super
happy.
stoked. It took him a little while for his little underdeveloped thumbs to get to the point where he can operate it.
Yep.
But I get home and I had to bring it home because he flew. So it's in my bag. And I just lay it on on my end table with all my crap, and I got a lot of things. You know, a lot of things come out of my pocket, so it's up there. Somehow, it just disappeared. He knew.
Yeah, it's not yours. It's his.
Yeah, but how did he know? Like, I'm pretty sure he was asleep, but when I got up in the morning, it wasn't there anymore. So either he came
Went
in
at midnight.
Yeah, either he came in the middle of the night or late that night, but that thing was gone. I'm not really sure of its whereabouts right now, but
It's in his possession.
only time will tell.
I told Wyatt that this is a big step. This is the step of more responsibility or significantly less responsibility. So, hey,
And
Blade
he
HQ.
just grabbed it and said, "Fuck, cool." Yeah.
Blade HQ came through. Boker, little mini OTF. It's perfect for an
It
11-year-old.
is perfect. He's showing some responsibility with it. We are now into day 4, I think, with it, and knock on wood, things are going pretty good.
Awesome.
So Wyatt's got a heck of a little pocket dump coming soon.
We need to have the kids on as a special guest.
Not a bad idea. But more importantly, how many pocket dumps have we done?
A shit load of them.
something.
Where the fuck is his chapstick?
Dude, I think at this
You know,
point,
he's self-conscious about the chapstick.
at this point, I
just
think
not
you
take the
guys are
chapstick out of your
realizing
pocket?
I'm just fucking with you guys with the chapstick.
That's not.
Have
I've
you?
seen you use
That's
it.
not completely true because I've seen you actually physically possess it.
Okay, but how many I've known you for how many years? How many years?
12.
How many applications have you witnessed of chapstick on these lips?
That's not a fair argument.
Oh, you think I
how
do
much-
it? You think I hide?
Yeah, you're a closet
100%.
chapsticker.
You think I do it?
You would do it.
So I openly speak about chapstick, yet I hide for my application process.
I've
is what
seen
you're
a few
saying.
applications in jest, like to be funny. I don't know. I honestly haven't spent much time thinking about it, but now that you bring it up, I think that you're a closet chapstick applicator.
Jeez. Could you bring my
Goes and hides in the corner.
Could you bring my chapstick?
My lips hurt real bad.
It's from a fucking movie.
I know.
All right.
I get it. It's funny. It's funny that you so
You
into
rock
chapstick. I am rocking the little ProTech Runt 5, all blacked out. I like this knife. I wish it was just about 10 or 15% larger, but
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
good. It's a great that's what-
Softball that one
that's
out
what
there.
she said. It's a great. I mean, ProTech anything is awesome. I like the design on the blade, little reverse Tonto. So
Is it as heavy as the brass handled one?
no, it's not near as heavy. It's still got some heft for the size, but it's not near as hefty as the bronze. Still rocking the Ridge. I'm a
See,
believer.
That thing's growing though.
It's
It's
getting bigger and
it's
bigger.
getting bigger.
It's getting bigger. And then
Oh.
something little new, or not new, but new for the podcast.
Hey.
Look at that.
We
Bam.
are that's the SIG M18 P320.
That's a
all
fucking
FTV.
unit right there.
That's one that's kind of a little bit decked out. Got the Loophole Delta Point Pro that I know Phil's a big fan of.
I have several.
Little Streamlight TLR7 flashlight, and yeah,
It's just a badass looking gun.
It does look
it's a
cool.
great gun. Shoots good. 21 rounds with the
Whoa, and a pistol?
Yeah.
Whew.
21 rounds of 9mm lung exploding rounds. They'll shoot a lung right out of a human body.
Yeah, it'll explode a head.
That's what they say on the internet.
One
Yeah.
shot, just blow it out.
Yeah, the whole head, the upper torso, gone.
Yeah.
Just
You gotten used to the red dot sight yet?
I'm getting there.
I know you're a little more old school.
I am.
I started with the red dot, so
You're significantly better on the red dot than I am. I mean,
I'm pretty rough on the iron sight, but
23, 4+ years of shooting iron sights and then transitioning to red dot. Once on target, I can shoot pretty good. It's target acquisition that takes the
you
time.
feel like
It's
the
coming up on.
You feel like the cataracts play any role in that? I mean, just old
through
age.
the bifocals.
Yeah. Maybe you get readers, dude. You look over the top of them or something.
It's seeing's fine. It's coming up on target. It's trying to, on irons you you present the firearm in a different way. And on red dot, you just kind of let it. You need to let that red dot make itself appear on the target. So it's just taking some time. But I mean, a P320 from Sig it's a great shooting gun. I know you've got one as well.
I'm a fan. I love the trigger on it. It's
Yeah.
the best feeling trigger out of anything I got.
This is for a short barrel. I mean, it's not a 2011. It's not 1911. It's not a high end firearm. Tell you what, it's an accurate little son of a bitch for what it is. I decked this one out thinking that it was going to be my daily carry, but I'll be honest, even with a flush fit mag, the 15 rounder, so the 21 rounder, throw a red dot on it. It's a thicker gun. Throw a light on it. Throw that in a holster. It's a bigger gun than what I can do, especially during the summertime. Wintertime's a different story. Wintertime,
You've
conceal that pretty good.
switched over to a lot skinnier skinny jeans.
Oh, you're
so-
goddamn right he did. And then he switched right the fuck out of him. Didn't you, Josh?
We're gonna go there.
Yeah. Here we are.
I got to hear this story.
Phil missed out on this. Yeah, that was probably all right. So, hey, a couple things happened at Columbus. We had a chassis under the Street Rod of the Year. We had a chassis under the Street Machine of the Year. The OBS was a smash hit. Show
Pretty-
went great.
Pretty good accomplishments.
So those things were pretty good. The other thing that happened is that Josh shows up in the morning in fucking yoga pants. Yeah, and I didn't even say anything. I let it go.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No,
First of
I
all-
let it go.
Sure.
First of all,
To his
That's
face.
not-
I let it go to his face.
okay, that's exactly
Yeah.
all right. If you're gonna be completely accurate,
Yeah.
you let it go to me. However, you did not say anything. So we meet down in the morning, go to
These
the show.
Athleta, Lululemon,
They're
where'd you?
jeans. They're just jeans.
Yeah, they
Jeggings?
they make all that shit look like jeans now.
They're not. They were just jeans.
Screen printed to look like jeans.
So
Yeah.
we meet down there in the morning. I've got a coffee. I'm smoking my cigarette. I realize that I don't have my pass. So I said, "Hold on, I'm going to run up to the room real quick."
Well,
I've got my
obviously,
pass."
it's not going to fit. Nothing's going to fit in any of those pockets. So clearly, whatever you had in your hands were what you had on your person at that
So I
time.
went back up to the room. We brought our wives and the kids with us. I ran up to the room. I walked in, and Jody looks at me. She's like, "Huh, I guess you're changing, huh?" No, I came to get my pass. And then it caught me off guard. I'm like, what do you mean I'm changing? Oh, nothing. What do you mean nothing? No, now you're going to tell me. So I ran into to Jer in the hallway, and he said, "Thanks for letting you wear leggings today." So I said, "Well, I guess I'm getting my pass and I'm changing." So I threw shorts on, and I come back downstairs, and he's like, "Oh, dude, you changed? Put in shorts? Think you're going to be a little hot today? You can go fuck yourself."
Those had to be insanely tight
Oh,
jeans
yeah.
for him to fucking
Yeah.
comment on them.
They weren't tight.
He
They just-
tries. He's got this new thing he does too, where he tries. It's like a scapegoat. He tries to say that because Maddox dresses him and she's stylish. Yeah, she's stylish, but she's an 18-year-old high school girl, not a fucking 52-year-old man.
No, 52. Put another decade on me. I
Dude,
thought the jeans looked good.
They didn't look. The shorts look better. The shorts look better. Let's move. Let's
Okay.
keep moving.
All right, cool.
We got a lot to cover here.
Phil, what do you got? It's time for your pocket dump.
I got the
That was a double snap.
I got the Kershaw Launch 11. Been carrying. Like it quite a bit until you went ahead and gave it away in the last listener question.
Yeah,
Cool little
no,
life.
I gave another knife away.
We gave another one away?
Mhm.
Oh, so I get to keep that one?
You do.
Sweet. Cool little knife. Really like it. Got a lot of yank to it on the automatic open. Also, ended up bringing this guy out
Oh, here we
so I
go.
can carry this.
I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah. That is the Benchmade Shootout. I just brought that back into rotation.
What is that?
It's the Benchmade Shootout.
Not a fan.
It's a OTF
never heard of
knife.
them. Is it an older one?
No, it's brand new, and you can't get them because they sold out pretty much everywhere instantly.
Except who's got one of those? Somebody else has one of those.
Michael Bryan, 3D Magic
No,
Mike.
no, I'm
there's
thinking of
another guy.
somebody.
Highly
Trying to-
acclaimed engineer at the roaster
Yeah, no,
shop.
I know Mike.
Also,
Yeah,
similar
no, yeah,
taste.
Mike definitely got one. I'm trying to think
Tim
of.
Farrow.
Yeah, that's
Tim.
that's who it is.
Yep.
Tim's got one.
You know who doesn't have one? Either of you two.
Tim actually called me to get.
So much to the point that if you look at my phone there, if you zoom in, maybe block out the number, but that's Jer's profile picture is that
just
knife.
that knife?
Just so every time he texts me or calls,
You can
it
see what I
reminds me
don't
that he
have.
does not have that knife. It is awesome.
I do like the knife. Tim, as a matter of fact, Tim came to me this morning. He's like, "Hey, dude, you still looking for that shootout?" I'm like, no, I could have bought it a couple of times. I found it in stock. I'm just not buying it because y'all guys have it.
You
I don't-
couldn't have found it.
No, I have found it. I just
Liar.
I don't like to be that guy that has something. I do like it though. Every time I put it in my hand,
You like
I'm
to be the guy that wears the shirt of the guy you're interviewing to the interview, though.
I was trying to promote North of Bourbon. You know, I was trying to be nice. You wore bear.
It was inadvertent. I didn't know we were doing the sponsor call out on that.
I do like that. It's a good knife.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
Still rocking the Amazon wallet.
Amazon?
Yeah,
Like from Amazon?
$13.
Did your daughter get? It's your daughter's wallet. Is it
That's
a
my
Velcro on
wallet.
it?
There's no Velcro.
Yeah, it's a Velcro wallet.
I have a wallet.
Where
It's a
are all your
Velcro wallet.
Where are all your things?
I yarded out most of my things and fixed most of my back problems at the same time.
Wow. That buff way. I'd expect more out of you. I think you got to class it up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to eventually.
All right.
This has been working, so
East Barrington Country Club pass in there,
no.
or is that like an RFID? I didn't know how to.
Facial recognition software.
Next up, what are we drinking today? This has been a little bit different. On
It
what are we
has been.
drinking?
Because we're drinking multiple things.
Yep. This is called the Fancy Free.
The Fancy Free. It's a great cocktail.
I'm a fan.
I think this is a good cocktail for everybody out there because it's a variation of the old fashioned. So you can walk in anywhere and probably, you kind of look like you know what you're talking about if you drop that.
Bring a little street cred to the game.
And mix it up instead of just this straight old fashioned. And to be honest with you, it's got a very old fashioned taste, but a little bit nicer. Would you say?
Yeah.
It's
I will agree with Josh's comment earlier that it is a lot more summery, fresh,
He
lighter.
made sense, like you said, that you're taking that sugar out, so it makes it thinner, so you don't have that thickness.
Yep.
You know,
Liked it.
cocktail's phenomenal. Obviously, the preparation was.
Subpar.
Oh, come on.
bourbon, Luxardo liqueur, Angostura bitters, and orange bitters, and a lemon twist. Very easy.
I actually grabbed Josh this morning because you brought all the ingredients in and left him in my office. And I thought you were going to bring your Stillhouse drink to the table finally. And I was going to steal one or two key components and hide
Just
them
to
so
fuck it
you
up?
would lose.
Honestly,
I
we were going
re-
to take a shit in your back. Just to,
Like a human shit. You son of a bitch.
when's the Stillhouse drink coming?
It's not.
Honestly,
it's coming.
everybody at this shop is wondering because they get to judge.
How about
He recognized our power.
all right, dude.
He's
It's
Don't
coming.
say something that can't happen.
It's coming.
Okay.
Don't you worry about it.
Well,
But it's come out in addition to the cocktail. We cracked open a bottom shelf bomber today, which
We
is
did.
something I've had my eye on for an awful long time because it's a classic. It's one of those distilleries that's been around forever.
I believe since 1843.
I'm assuming that's why they call it that. But David Nicholson, 1843 Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It's 100 proof. And you're going to find that on the lower
Bottom
shelf of virtually every liquor store. And honestly,
100% a buy it.
that's a buy
Damn
it.
good. Yep.
Guys, I would say that I think we've experienced this a few times with some of these lower price point bourbons. It exceeds the taste, the quality, the experience of a lot of these higher end bourbons. I'd drink that. I'd serve it to friends and tell them it's really expensive. I tell them it's something
looks
super. I
expensive. It's
tell
got
them
a
it's
good-looking
something
bottle.
super
It's
rare.
from 1843.
Yeah,
I'm
you
breaking
can't.
this
Yeah,
down
dude, you
from
can't
Old
just
as shit.
you can't just get that anywhere. I
Right.
mean, that's old.
Unless you went back
Basically,
to
Josh's
1843.
younger brother.
That's like about the time when they came out with glass. I think it was the first bottled bourbon.
Yeah, it was in burlap.
Yeah.
Before, right.
They say this is the original 43 recipe. And I'll tell you what, it tastes like it. It tastes like the original 43.
It's good.
But it's good. It's very good. Great drinker. You can drink it neat. I'll bet you if you throw that on the rocks, it's probably even better. Buy it. Absolutely buy it.
That'll do it for In the Glove Box. Next up, it's time for story time. Story time, if anybody's been listening for any amount of time, they know that it's basically just a chance for us to tell some stupid fucking story that happened
Or a great
back when.
Or a great story.
or a great story. This week is something a little different.
Yeah. I gotta get
This is probably going to end story time because there is not a better story in the
Yeah.
history of stories.
We have been waiting for this for a long time, and I just give me a second here because I gotta get
Be
comfortable.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I gotta get comfortable for this one.
This is the legendary Josh's Vegas story.
The SEMA story of all SEMA stories.
This is a
This
SEMA
is the
story.
Hangover 3 that should have been.
By Josh Henning. Take it away, Josh.
And we did get clearance from Jody.
Yeah, I got permission to tell this story. She had never even heard the story until I told her the story
Really?
to get permission to tell the story.
Huh.
Go ahead.
So this was
This is the full story, or are we going to get an edited version?
If it's edited, you better believe I'm chiming in, and
Yeah, we are lighting you up.
because we know the story.
yeah.
You're not getting off without like delivering the nitty gritty details.
Years and years and years ago, we were at SEMA. We were doing the SEMA thing. We were at the Lower Chandelier Bar at the Cosmo. I think this was the first year that the Cosmo opened, as a matter of fact. If anybody wants to date the story, just to really follow along and know what's going on. So we're there post show, I think post dinner, hanging out.
Everybody was there.
Everybody
I
was there.
remember.
I know that Miranda was there. I know that Bowler,
Yeah, Mark Bowler. Remember Mark being
and
there?
Jesse Bowler were there.
Jesse Greening.
Jesse
there.
Greening was there. We were there.
Anyone
y'all
who
were
was
there.
anyone.
Yeah.
Everyone
Tim
who was
there?
anyone.
Tim, I'm sure, was there telling some story that nobody wanted to hear. But fuck planes. I love you, Tim. So we are there. We are drinking. We are having a grand old time like we always do when we get together. And all good. Everybody's telling stories, telling lies, having fun. We are sitting down in some lounge chairs, not much different than what we're in right now. Drinking and having fun. And as times go, when you've had a few to drink, the nature calls. It's time to go to the restroom. So I hop up to go to the restroom. And
You fucking vanished. It was a Houdini act.
It was.
well, yeah,
dude.
we're getting to the reason
I can
of the
remember.
vanishing.
I can
act.
remember being there and saying to Phil, "Hey, the fuck, Josh, go. You were just gone, dude.
Yep.
Gone."
Yeah, disappeared for the
Magic Man.
for the rest
Yeah.
of the night. So I get up to head to the restroom. Sitting down, okay. Just got to go take a quick pee. Come right back, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Hang it. You were sitting down to take a pee?
No, sitting down while we're drinking.
Okay.
So sitting down, everything's good. I'm going to hop up, take a pee, and come right back and go back to drinking. Now, as people that drink like we do have been there before, you're sitting down, you're talking, you're having a great time, you've been drinking.
Good.
When you get to stand up and you have to walk, all of a sudden it dawns on you that you're not as in good of a shape as you thought you were.
You are no longer sober.
Things have changed since before you sat down. Time has passed. You have drank some alcohol. So now it went from I've got to pee to I have to make it to the place to pee. So, luckily, the restroom was not far. Right there. Anybody that's been to Vegas and been to the Cosmo knows what the lower chandelier bar is, and they know not far off to the left is the lobby restroom. So I meander on into the restroom, and by the time I get to the restroom, I'm like, you know what? Things aren't as good as they should be. So, best thing for Josh to do is we're going to go ahead and take one of these little private stalls here, right? So,
Just sit down, catch your breath, right?
sit down. I was fine when I was
Take a
sitting
little
down.
breather, hit the bench for a few, come back strong.
Yeah, drunken mentality was I was good when I was sitting down 30 seconds ago. Let's just get back to sitting down again, right?
Okay.
So, take my private stall, go ahead and sit down. And I'm like, man, things are not all that great. And yes, to answer your previous question, there was a sit down and pee. Okay.
You got to do that when you got a little one. No, it works better.
A lot less
So,
aiming involved.
I am there. I am sitting down. I am utilizing the male facilities to the fullest extent. So,
An interesting take on it.
yeah, I realize that everything will be good if I just take myself a quick little cat nap.
And what better place to take a cat nap?
And
Then
that's
the
just a
stall
little,
in the
dungeon.
shitter.
well, not even a cat nap, just to rest the eyes. Let me just rest my eyes a little bit
2-3 seconds.
and I'll be good. So, in the stall, utilizing it to its intended design.
Did you bring a neck pillow?
I found the little handicap bar to be quite acceptable ergonomically. So, laying over there. There's a period of time that nobody knows how long it is. I don't know. No one will ever know how long a period of time.
It could have been 10 minutes. It could have
I
been an
feel
hour.
like security knows how long that was.
Well, they know that it's been an extended period of time because then
longer than
they were called to address the situation. So there is a very loudly on the stall door.
that's the
Right.
sound of the police.
Don't know how many times, but there was at one point in time there was a rap on the door to awaken me. I awoke to two black security guard shoes at the stall, announcing that I have been in there
For just too long.
for too long. I didn't know that there was a period of time. There was no signs that said you can only be in here
Did you
for
just-
this long.
Did you try telling him you just had a tummy ache? Like
Well, yeah, we'll get
A little bit of a tummers.
So he's telling me that time has expired. Drunken Josh says, I'm in here doing my business. You can't tell me how long it's going to take. Right? And in probably non-podcast acceptable terms of what I'm doing in there. And you can't tell me how long it takes for me to do what I need to do. Right? So basically, fuck off. I'm in here.
You're out there.
Yeah. So I'll be out when I'm done. Again, not knowing how much time had transpired. So he leaves. He tells me, hurry up. You got to get out. You've been here way too long. So again, I'm feeling a little bit better, but you know what would make me feel a lot better? Just another rest of the eyes. So
Another little nappy poo.
I'm out again. So I awake, right? I'm like, man, I don't feel that bad. But, oh, I know what I need to do. And that is get rid of everything that's in my stomach that's making me feel bad.
Of course.
And it only wants to come out the way it came in. Right?
Top side.
You know what? Just a little boot and rally, and we will be back good again. I'm going to run right back in there. I'm going to meet up with Jeremy. I'm going to meet up with Phil. I'm going to meet up with Miranda. I'm going to meet up with Mark. We're going to be high-fiving. We're going to be drinking the rest of the night away. Awesome. SEMA time. Rock and roll.
You gonna call them dinosaurs, as they say in Varsity Blues?
So in Josh's drunken, sleepy, passed out thought process was, it's way easier just to go ahead and slide back
Of
in the seated position.
So just
Was
to
this in third person at the time? Or
so
was this
it's
just
like
now?
there's a lot going on here to unpack. So
Not really.
just to summarize this,
Not that bad.
Josh is sitting on the toilet with his pants around his ankles, and he's going to slide back to throw up between his legs and drop that into the toilet. Am I right?
It makes
Okay.
just as much sense you telling me as when I thought about it.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Nothing could go wrong. What's the worst that could happen?
It's not going to get towed, right?
It's
Yep.
definitely not going to get towed. Oh, well, in theory, it kind of did. But so slide on back. Going to go ahead and just take a little small, just the smallest puke, right? Between my legs into the toilet. Well, aim ain't that great when you're drunk, right? And I completely misjudged
Your location.
location, and the puke part, no problem. Got that
That came out.
handled.
Did you
I
throw
was-
up on yourself?
No,
Well, that's good. So there's a win for you. I'll give you that.
I put it directly in my pants,
in your drawers.
in my drawers. Yeah, I missed the toilet part, and I threw up basically in my boxers. Right there, right there. So at that point, it was kind of like defeat. It was sadness and like,
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, that's a
Well,
loss. That
this-
is a loss.
this is not going to be the happy-go-lucky night that I thought it would be. However, back to previous thoughts, best thing that I could do right now is just a slightest rest of the eyes. If I could just take myself a little bit of a nap,
It'll be good.
everybody would be good. I was
Makes-
feeling good.
It makes sense.
Just take a little bit of a nap. Fast forward. Don't know how much time has passed. Awakened by a rap on the door, just like before. However, the shoes had multiplied. So
What-
now,
what-
Are you sure
was-
you weren't just seeing double
What was once
For
2 is
trouble.
now 4.
yeah,
or 6?
what was once 2 is now 4. Same shoes. They had seemingly had enough. And it was over for Josh and his seemingly private stall.
Matters.
It
Right.
was a little snooze.
Yeah. No matter what you're doing, you're coming out one way or another. Never experienced this in my life. I thought that a restroom was a safe haven. Apparently, it's not when you pass a certain amount of time.
It's a tornado shelter.
how did they-
but not.
How do they open the stall door?
They demanded that the stall door be opened,
Okay.
or they would open it. I don't know how they were going to open it.
Kick it.
I didn't
right?
call their bluff.
Sure.
I at that point,
You obliged.
Smart
at
man.
that point, night was going south. Right, I had enough losses. Let's just do what the 4 feet say. So at this point, I'm startled. Everything's going on, a lot going on. When you're awakened from a resting of the eyes, you don't exactly remember everything that had happened prior to. Okay, so startled. You're coming out, or we're coming in and get you. Last thing I want is some dudes coming in and getting me in this position, right? So it is time to stand to attention. Look, suck it up.
I'm good.
I know you're
Like-
drunk. Look, we can do. We'll be fine. Let's do this. But it's time
Basically,
to
you had one shot,
one opportunity.
just one opportunity.
Yeah. So it was time to re-robe, right? Go ahead and pull them pants up, cinch everything up. About the time everything's cinched up, it dawned on me. Something reminded me of what transpired earlier. And
Was there a squish?
there was a squish and a sensation I had never felt before and have never felt since. Right? It's an odd one. I'll be honest with you. It's something you can't explain.
Describe it to the listeners. I don't know that many other people have experienced it.
Have
Is it like swimming in a like a kiddie pool of cottage cheese?
It would be like if you, I can't describe it. Everybody knows what happened, right? It was like yeah. So I re-robed. It was like, oh, yeah,
There you are in your own filth.
I'm sitting my own make. And there is, then it's the get out. Oh, what are these guys going to do? And then I'm a little bit pissed off because they're being a little handsy. They're manhandling me, right? And they are trying to get me out of their entire property as fast as possible. Dude, I got to clean up. Let me wash my hands. Let me do this. Washing my hands. That they have.
Did they have a bidet?
No, they don't.
That would have
No.
been helpful. I
No,
feel.
this was wash hands and little water on the face, which did no good.
Little Dracar Noir.
And at this point was, you are no longer welcome at the Cosmopolitan. This is a fine establishment that you have tarnished its reputation. So
Yeah, dude, that's a nice. It's like a nicer
yeah,
casino.
yeah, it's a nice place.
Yeah.
So they manhandled me all the way out to the cab line. There's a decent sized cab line, as all Vegas casinos are. Good part of this is rushed right to the front. I didn't have to wait in line. I bypassed.
So that's the trick.
Yeah.
When you're at the SEMA show and there's a long cab
Yeah.
line.
They spend your time in the
bypassed-
bathroom and you can get to the front of the line.
They bypassed the entire line. The open cab door was awaiting. I was tossed in to the back. Shut the door. Cab driver asked me, "Where am I going?" "I, sir, am going to the Westgate." "You can see it. It's right there. Just take me to the Westgate and all will be good. We'll meet up with my friends tomorrow morning at the SEMA show."
We'll
And-
pretend like none of this happened.
Absolutely. So he says, absolutely. Not just like that, but
He said,
There was
"Nope."
an accent.
He said,
probably.
"No problem, boss."
something along those lines. Best thing to do on a short little cab ride in Josh's state of mind was another little rest of the eyes. Best
A
thing that
lot
could
of
happen.
napping going on
Yeah,
in
a lot of
this
napping.
story.
Yeah.
You
Or
were
passing out.
sleepy.
So I wake with, "You're here." "Oh, great. That wasn't that far. $130 is what I owe." And cab driver just rolled me. However long he rolled me to get to
He
$130.
took you up around
That's
Lake
a
Tahoe
$14 cab ride.
through Reno and back.
It would have been like a $6 cab ride. Yeah. So what do? Pay the man. Go into the Westgate. Anybody that's ever stayed at the Westgate, we used to stay at the Westgate all the time because it's right next
Yeah.
door to the show. So it's very easy to walk. No transportation in the mornings and stuff. But however, Westgate is a very large hotel.
Oh, dude, trust me, I'm guilty of having a few too many Chardonnays and getting lost in the hallways myself.
There is many wings, and then those wings are quite large, and then there's many elevators to go to those different wings. So finally, it's legitimate, no bullshit. It's a 25-minute walk from the entrance of the casino to your room, no matter where you're at. So I make that happen somehow, some way. I make it to the room. You know what doesn't happen when I get to the room?
The room key.
Room key doesn't work. And I know I'm at the right room, I think, but room key does not work. Guess what? I have to reverse trajectory, go all the way back down, and explain to the front desk the reason I need the room key, and I need it immediately.
That's another 20-minute walk.
You
back to the
explained to
front
him that
desk.
you are swimming in your own filth.
I didn't explain it to him that way, but I told them that I have had a hell of a night. And if you could just get me my room key, everything would be fine.
How smoothly did that process go?
Not the greatest, right? Not the greatest. There was it's not in your name. We have to call somebody else. We got to do this. Everything all got taken care of. I got my room key. I made my 25-minute walk back to the room. And at that point, I mean, we've all been there. Not maybe to this level. We've all been to there to where
I don't know that anybody else has been in your shoes
There's-
or your pants.
there's
for that
been
matter.
people out there that have been drunk and it's finally get to the place of the rest for the rest of the night. And you know you can lay your head down. And at that point, it's just shed it all, get in the bed and let whatever happens, right? So passed out, all that. Wake up in the morning. I'm sure there was some obligation the next morning that required being up at 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever it required. And I remember waking up still to this day and like, what the fuck?
Who the fuck threw up in my pants? Oh, dude.
And that is Josh's SEMA story.
God.
Cheers to that.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it everything you hoped it would be?
I've heard that story probably a dozen times, and it never gets old.
Never.
I was there at the beginning of it, and I remember like how it
Do
started.
you remember the next day when you said what happened? And I said, you're never
Yeah,
gonna believe it.
Yeah, you played it pretty cool the next day.
You could have totally just been like, yeah, I went to the bathroom, had a few too many, and just went back to the hotel room.
Yeah,
and called it a night.
I just pieced out, man. I was fucked up.
No.
An epic story is an epic story.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna keep
yeah.
that
Oh no,
from you
I mean
guys.
you got to applaud that. You got to applaud that.
There was a couple hours of where the fuck is Josh? Is he coming back? Is Josh coming back? Anyone know where Josh is? You guys seen Josh?
All that time, I think we hung at the bar probably an hour longer than we intended
Waiting
to,
for you
just
to come
waiting
back.
for you. Like, dude, seriously, where the fuck is he? Like, did we piss him off? Like, what the fuck? What's up? Because you seemed fine until you, like you said, you stood up.
Well, there it is. You've been waiting for it for, I don't know, 20 something episodes. There's a story.
Well, I appreciate you sharing it with everyone. There is no shame in your game.
I still, Phil doesn't believe this, but I still believe that people have been there.
Like bits
Not in
and
those
pieces.
exact shoes.
Yeah,
No,
No.
I think
but there's been shoes that people have wore that have all
Just-
been different.
Yeah. yeah, we've all had our fair share of over servings, just not quite to the level of yours.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
hey,
Thank you, Josh.
Took
That's
it like a champ.
is
Oh.
what it is.
hell of a story. Fucking trooper, man.
Anything for content, all right. Thanks again for everybody listening to Oil and Whiskey with the Roadster Shop, an Ironclad original presented by Blade HQ. If you like the show, be sure to leave us a rating and review. We've been seeing a lot of good ratings, not so many reviews. You got to give us some reviews. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, who you like. I think we should do a vote. Who you like the best?
It's gonna be hard to
Who-
compete with this story.
Who wore it the best?
You wore it. 100%.
Yeah, you literally
after
wore it.
this. Yeah.
Thanks again to our guest, Brad Jennings with North of Bourbon. If you're listening to this right now, probably not too late to go ahead and get your reservations in before NSRA Louisville. We'll see you
Can't
again
say
next
enough
week.
good things about checking that place out.
Absolutely. Get your room. Even if get you a
Reservation.
reservation.
Or just a drink at the bar.
even if you don't like alcohol, you don't like bourbon, you don't like this, they got something for everybody. Go there and have a meal. There's going to be something for everybody.
It is something to experience.
Absolutely.
Just like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I've been to countless bars, speakeasies, restaurants, lots of cool shit. North of Bourbon is right there at the top of my list. So if you're there, check it out.
It's the
Don't
only one
miss
we
it.
thought worthy of being on a podcast.
Absolutely. All right, we'll see you again next week.